So this is Yom Kaphar, Day of Atonement, 10th Yom Shby'ay Chudash, or 7th month. As we go about our daily lives in this world, we have to look at within ourselves. We have to look deep within our hearts, and to discover the hidden parts of ourselves that are hidden from natural sight. When we look at the word that bears the bar wisdom as our surgical tools, and we look at that as our to discover the things that within ourselves, that we may transform our minds and the constructs of who we are, and the thought processes and the things that we proclaim to be not ourselves. If we look at today, we look at Yom Kaphar, but then we look at every day as a day of freedom. Every day is a day to transform one's mind and be renewed in their inward parts, in their mind, in their thoughts, in their understanding, in their wisdom, and in their knowledge. That the love of Yahuwah and His Ben, Yahusha, may reign inside of every single man, woman, and child. That compassion, humility, meekness, gentleness may reign, and we may put away the inclinations of our lower self. That the higher self, the ascended being, the vibrations, the frequencies of our higher self may reign supreme, and that it may govern this natural man that we so hold to. But knowing that this life is only temporary, and everything that we have is temporary, and we should know these things continually. That light and compassion may continually shine in a dark world, full of darkness, full of fear, doubt, hatred, full of one's own mind. Because there's only one light, one or, there's only one word, there's only one house, and there's only one family. And in that family, you have good and you have evil. But today, it's not about ourselves. It's about the conglomerate unification of everyone. That all may come to repentance, that all may turn, that all may transform their mind, that all may come to realization of who they are. But today, we look at everything. As the planets aligning, as things are coming to culmination, as the Turahs are sounding, as the affliction is taking place, we look within ourselves, look inside of the universe of ourselves, inside of the inner being of ourselves, and we decide within ourselves, whom will one choose today? Who will one choose today? Because today is the day of proper decisions. Today is the day of salvation. Today is the day of salvation. For as we move forward, when the sun rolls out of the sixth portal, one has realized that you have another day at life, at Chay. You have another day to see the trees blow in the wind. You have another day to see the flowers sprout. You have another day to see the blossoms, the Parach. You have another day. Like it says, glorify or kabod Yahuwah in your body today. For that is your tent, your house, your palace, the place where you dwell. For all that receive them, the gods and the goddesses who receive the light, gave you power to become light, and to speak light, and to be light in the world. So no longer be under the table, you be on top of the table, that your light may shine. Even as a candle shines in a dark room. For one to say that they have no power, if you put a little light in a dark room, it'll outshine everything in the room. So, as we move forward in this Yom Kaphar, we have our mind focused on things above, what we look to, the one, the ruler of the highest Shamayim, through the 7 Shamayim, through the Rakia, to the surface of the earth, even to the center of the earth, and the other realms, and the other worlds. We look to him, Yahushua Mashiach. We look to Yahuwah. We look to the sound vibrations and energy. Even as the sun gives energy to plants, we look for Yahuwah through his Ben Yahusha. Yahuwah, the strength of the house. Yahusha, the life of the house. To allow light to shine within, that love and compassion may reign continually, that our incense may be acceptable every day. So as we move forward, we look to see. We look to see. Look to the all of seeing. And we move forward in compassion and humility. So this is Yom Kaphar, 10th day of the 7th month. So this is Wisdom of Solomon, Kukma Shli Shaluma, 6:12-25. It says, wisdom is glorious. It never fadeth away. Yahushua said, Shamayim is my throne, Shamayim is my throne, the earth is my footstool. He said, what house will you build for me? He said, heaven and earth will pass away, and my word will never fade away or pass away. Keep going, it says, yea, she is easily seen of them that love her. So if you have love, wisdom is easy. You're able to see it in everything you do, and everywhere you go, you're able to see it. It says, and found of such as seek her. Right? What is one seeking? What is one seeking? You got to seek with love, and you have to seek it properly. Verse 13 says, she prevented them that desire her in making herself known unto them. It says, whoso seeketh her early shall have no great travail, for he shall find her sitting at his doors. So when you look at wisdom, just like you look at Abraham, or sitting at the front of the tent door waiting to serve, Kukma, you'll find it sitting at his doors. Right? You look at the 10 virgins, 5 were wise, 5 were foolish. The wise kept their oil in their lamp. The foolish didn't. But you'll find the wise continually sitting at the door. Verse 15 says, to think thereupon her is perfection of wisdom, and whoso watches for her quickly will be without care. Verse 16 says, for she goeth about seeking such as are worthy of her. She showeth herself favorably unto them in the ways, and meeteth them in every thought. So when we look at our thoughts, we look at our mind from our frontal lobe, from our corpus callosum, from our left and right brain, from our pituitary, pineal, the thalamus, optic, thalamar. We look at the functions of our mind. We want Kukma and wisdom to meet us in every thought. Because when Kukma and wisdom meet you in every thought, everything becomes clear. Every single thought and every decision becomes clear on what one needs to do. So this is Qahalath, or Ecclesiastes 7:19. It says, wisdom gives strength to the wise more than 10 rulers who are in the city. So when we think about wisdom meeting you in every thought, and you think about rulers and kings and governors and all these things, when you have wisdom and Kukma, it gives you more strength than all those combined. It formulated and literally created the worlds. When you start looking at wisdom and Kukma, you start looking at it, it will give you more wisdom than 10 men who give their strength to one man. Then you understand how the world is really constructed. So this is Mashali, Proverbs 8 through 11. Proverbs chapter 8, 8 through 11 says, all the words of my mouth are righteous. So when you start looking at Kukma and wisdom, when you have wisdom meeting you in every thought, every single word you say, it will be righteous. It's not going to be, how you say, like it says, it's not something that's easily attainable. Right? It says, there is nothing twisted or crooked in them. Right? So when we get twisted and crooked, when you look at Yahuwah's mouth, every word that comes from his mouth is righteous. Ain't nothing twisted or crooked in them. It says, they are all straight to him who understands. It says, and right to those who find knowledge. All right, so when you say seek with love, you'll understand that any word that comes from Yahuwah's mouth is not crooked, it is straight, if you have understanding. And if you're seeking for knowledge. This is what it says. It says, take my instruction instead of silver, and knowledge rather than gold. We're talking, you think about the archons, and you think about silver and gold, you think about the things they took from the garden, the Gan, from the 4 rivers, and they made it into an economic system. A world full of charts and up and down and how you say wicks. And it says, for wisdom is better than jewels, and all that all that you may desire cannot compare with her. So when you start looking at wisdom and Kukma and knowledge, understanding, he said, you look at wisdom and you think about gold and silver. This is nothing. You can compare to that, to wisdom and knowledge and understanding. Right? Nothing. Right? And you look at Yahuwah's words that come from his mouth, it's all righteous. So the word for crooked is ikesh, or akish, distorted, false, crooked, forward, perverse. None of the words that comes from Yahuwah's mouth is distorted, false, crooked, forward, or perverse. Nothing. The word for straight is nakuak, or nakoak, and it means what? Straightforward, equitable, correct, integrity, uprightness. Every word that comes from Yahuwah's mouth is straightforward. It is straight to him who understands. A person who understands knows that what he's saying is straightforward. It is equitable. It means it brings value to one's life. It is correct. Right? It is integrity. And it's uprightness. Right? Just like Solomon said that men, right? Yahuwah made man upright. He made him by his word. I made man by my word. But guess what, man? I made them upright, but they sought out many inventions, or how you say, created things in their own mind. They sought those things out more than my equitable word. So the word, Psalms 111 and 10 says, the fear of Yahuwah is the beginning. We talked about the word Rashith. It is the beginning of wisdom. Fear your father and your mother. If anyone's ever lived in a house, you had a father and a mother, it's not, the fear is like, oh, I'm afraid I'm in a corner. No, it's a fear of doing anything outside of what they say, or anything that makes them upset, or anything that brings them to a culmination of discipline. how you would say it. Right? The fear of Yahuwah is the beginning of wisdom. Right? You wise, very wise. He said, all those who practice it have a good understanding. Right? And so when we look at practicing, just like today, this is a practice. We understand why, we're going to understand, go through this, why we are understanding and why we have this kukma and we have this good understanding. Why? Because there's a lot of things that are transpiring even at this time in the 7th month, whether it's cosmic, whether it's internally, externally, whether it's changes in people that people are not aware of. And it says, his praise endures forever. If his praise will endure after when one's in this life, when one leaves and goes to the next world, they're going to be praising him. So either in this life they praising, you're gonna praise. They're gonna praise him over there right now while we sitting here, while we listening, while we going through the word, the equitable word. They're in the other world praising too. So it ain't. One can say it's only in this world, but in the other worlds they are too. So this is Odes of Solomon, ODE 7. It says, my joy is Yahuwah, and my course is toward him. This way of mine is beautiful. This way of mine is beautiful. So when you start looking at understanding, you start looking at it. Solomon said that in Wisdom of Kukma Shish Shaloma and Wisdom of Solomon, he said, I desire wisdom above health and beauty. Right? So when we start looking at these things, we start asking ourselves, right? And he says, this way of mine is beautiful. It's a beautiful way. Right? People say, what do you mean? This way, it's a beautiful way. Why? It's a clean way. How you say, it's a white way, right? White linen way. It's a way of light and order. It allows me to see the beauty of the earth and the colors in his creation. It's a beautiful way. It says, for there is a helper for me. Yahuwah has generously shown himself to me in his simplicity, because his kindness has diminished his grandeur. Guess what it says? He was like me that I might receive him in form. He considered like me that I might put him on. Right, so when we start looking at these aspects of him allowing us to put something on, it's a big responsibility. It says, I trembled not when I saw him, because he was gracious to me. Like my nature, he became. So when we start looking at our nature and who we are, as formed from the dust of the ground, as people who've now come to the knowledge of who they are, he was just like that. And guess what it says? That I might understand him. That's the only way. When you start looking at somebody coming down to the earth, to taking on you the same nature so you can understand him, just like he said, I trembled not, because he was gracious to me. It says that I might understand him, and like my form, that I might not turn away from him. Right. So when we start looking at, we have nothing to relate to. When you go through a world full of no knowledge and no understanding of anything of the highest Shamayim, or the father and mother who sits in his son Yahusha, in order for one to really feel like they're connected, he would have to come down and say, I was just like you. I came down in the form of flesh just like you, in order that you might understand. So you can have some type of connection to me. Because he feels what one is going through. And it says, the father of knowledge is the word of knowledge. He who created wisdom is wiser than his works. So when you start looking at wisdom in Kukma that Yahuwah made, his son Yahusha, he's wiser than that, his word. Most people don't let that sink in. He's wiser than the very wisdom in Kukma that made the worlds. He knows all the ocean caps by name. When they come across, you see the white cap on the water? Like, he know them all by name. He know all the sand, the particles of sand that you see, and you get a handful of it. Yeah, he know them all. Every spider, every single animal, every creeping thing, he gave it consciousness. He allows a spider to weave its web in a sphere, a 360-degree sphere. He allows a bear to hibernate. He gave these things consciousness to know when it's time to rest and when it's time to work for food. He did that. He gave the fish, know how the fish to swim in schools, or the whales to dive deep underwater when they take a deep breath and they come up and get the air from the top of the water, from the ocean, to dive deep. He did that. And he's wiser. He did that by his word, and he's wiser than the word that did that. So here we go. And he who created me when yet I was not knew what I would do when I came into being. On account of this, he was gracious to me in his abundant grace or khan, and allowed me to seek from him and to benefit from his sacrifice. To benefit from his sacrifice. For he it is who is incorruptible, the perfection of the worlds, and their father. So this is Wisdom of Solomon, Kukma Shli Shaluma 3, 9 through 13. The reason why we always go to wisdom first is because when you go to Proverbs chapter 8, it says, wisdom possessed me in the beginning of his ways before the world even was. Before any of this stuff that we're doing now, or talking on anything, or a computer, or internet, or anything, or any type of comfortable places to live, like that was there before this. That's why. So verse 9 says, they that put their trust in him shall understand the truth, and such as be faithful in love shall abide with him. Right? So they that trust in him shall understand. Trusting. He said he came into my form that I may understand him. I came down to your nature, to who you are, so you can understand. And he says, they that trust in him shall understand the truth. And such as be faithful in love shall abide with him. For Khan, or grace and mercy, is to his saints, and he hath care for his elect, for his Kadashim. But the unrighteous or ungodly shall be punished according to their own imaginations. That's why we talk about man's inventions. He said they went out their own inventions, their own mind. He said your own imaginations. He said your own injustice in one's mind. Your own lying, how you say, lying to myself, or lying to oneself. He says, which have neglected the righteous and forsaken Yahuwah. Right? That's the only reason one doesn't understand the truth. It says your own imaginations, and one's going after one's own mind and forsaking Yahuwah. For whoso despises wisdom and nurture, he is miserable. Why? He said, you know why? Because wisdom and nurture, we start thinking about Kukman. When you go outside, you feel the sun shine on your skin, the wind blowing on your skin, right? Your hair start blowing. You go outside, you ran in the rain, and that clean water hit you. You know that water they tell you that you can't drink. You know, the water that falls from the sky. Yeah, when that stuff hit you, guess what? He said, if you despise wisdom and nurture, that stuff it's like, you miserable. Oh, I gotta go to the store and buy another 50-gallon bottle of water. I gotta go here. I gotta go to work. You're miserable because you don't really know what made it all. Like it's a very miserable life. It says, and their hope is in vain, their labor unfruitful, and their works unprofitable. Why? Because wisdom and nurture is something that it brings life. It brings life, only life to yourself, right? It'll bring life to every person you're around. And you won't despise not one human being for anything, for money or silver and gold or anything. You won't. Right? Guess what it says? But if you despise wisdom and nurture, he is miserable. So you start thinking about that. And their hope is vain, their labor unfruitful, and their works are unprofitable. Their wives are foolish, right? And their children wicked, and their offspring is cursed. Why? Because when you despise wisdom and nurture, you are lying to yourself. You are lying to yourself, and you have injustice in your mind. So therefore, anything that comes out from you, because Adam, what? He created Adam from dust, and out of him came a woman, and then them two come together, created children. And then what happened after that? They despised wisdom and nurture. And then what happened after that? Curse. Curse. Cursed. It's cursed. Right, so this is why one has to realize to receive the light, just like the gods and the goddesses received the light. He gave them power gave them power. So when they're in their human body, inside of their mind, they're not despising wisdom and nurture, and therefore anything that comes out of the union or the creation of one and then another and then another, and then what happens? Nobody's cursed anymore. You have proper decisions with wisdom and understanding, and you understand the truth. Nobody's cursed anymore. Right. So this is Wisdom of Solomon, Kukma Shli Shaluma 7, 6 through 14. It says, for all men have one entrance into life, and the light going out. So we all got one entrance in here. We come through a woman, through the matrix, through the water gate, like a portal. Right? Like they say, through the Stargate. Come through this world. We got one entrance into this life, and we go out through another portal, through an unseen world. You go through. You come in. You come out. You traveling, and it's a very short time. So when we look at in between, it's like in between you, when these gateways open, it's time to go. Right? Just like when a child is in the mother's womb, it's time to come out. And when it's time to leave, it's time to go to the other world. But you have one entrance into life, into life, right? And the light going out, right? Wherefore I prayed, and understanding was given to me. I called upon all Yahuwah, and the Ruach of wisdom came to me. So when we start looking at that, it came. Right? I prefer her above scepters and thrones and esteemed riches. Nothing's in comparison to wisdom. Nothing. Neither compare I unto her any precious stone, because all gold in respect to wisdom or her is as little sand, and silver be counted as clay upon her, because wisdom made all that. Sand, clay, gold, silver. It made all of that. 10. I loved her above health and beauty. My health and beauty is the biggest industry on the planet. Why? Because wisdom will make one beautiful. Wisdom will make one healthy. Why? Truth will make one, beautiful. He says, and I chose her instead of light. I chose her instead of light. Why? Because before the world was, wisdom Kukma made light. Before light itself. This light that we look up in the sky, the sun, the Shemesh, Kugabim, Yark, Kukma made it. For the light that cometh from her never goeth out. This light made this light. this light don't ever go out. When you get the word of the bear to the bar and the Mashiach, Yahushua on the inside, they don't ever go out. The light don't go out. It was there before the earth even was, before the fourth day of creation, when you see the sun in the sky. The light that shines, the light that never went out, when it shined inside of those gods, the goddesses, the Elohim who received the light gave you power, because that light never go out. That lamp is continually burning. You know why? Because they don't despise wisdom and nurture. Wise virgins. And it says, light, for the light that cometh for her never goeth out. He says, all good things came together to me with her, and innumerable riches in her hands. Yeah, all that stuff come with it. Seek ye first the kingdom, and all these things will be added. It says, and I rejoiced in them all, because wisdom goeth before them all. When you look at wisdom, it's already there. And I knew not that she was the mother of them. The mother of them. So I learned diligently, and I do communicate her liberally. I do not hide her riches. He said, I don't hide them. For she is a treasure unto men that never faileth, which they that use become the friends of all, being commended for the gifts that cometh from learning. Learning. That's one thing that we will do until we leave, is learn. Because gifts come from learning. Right? It comes from learning. Until a child is born, until a son is given, it's a gift. But you have to learn about them to understand what it is. So, this is Bereshit, Genesis 1:26 through 27. So this is a Yom Kaphar. So as we go through this, we're going to see some things. But we always have to focus on who we are, our nature, and then we understand what everything is. So this is Bereshit, Genesis chapter 1:26 through 27. Then the Elohim said, let us make man in our own salam, after our own damuth, likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the heavens, over the livestock, all the livestock, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. So Yahuwah created man, or Adam, in his own image. In the image of Yahuwah he created him, male, Zakar, and female, Nakabah. He created them. So when we start looking at the creation of Adam from the dust of the ground, when we start looking at the creation, he said, let them have dominion. Let them have dominion. That's what he gave him. Over the fish of the sea, fowls of the air, creeping things, over all the earth. He gave him dominion over all the earth. So this is the Aramaic Palestinian Targum, section 1, Bereshit. And same verse, but it's in a different translation. And Yahuwah said to his Malakim, his angels, who ministered before him, who had been created in the second day of creation of the world, let us make man in our image, in our likeness. So when we start looking at Yahuwah, when you say Elohim, you see the gods and goddesses, but there is a superior being over these Elohims. And he gets all the credit. But it says, let them rule, it says, and let them rule over the fish of the sea, over the fowl which are over in the atmosphere of heaven, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every reptile creeping upon the earth. And Yahuwah created man, Adam in his likeness. And the word of Yahuwah created man in his likeness, right? In the likeness of the presence of Yahuwah, he created him, the male and his yoke fellow. He created them. In the image of Yahuwah, he created them. created him 248 members with 365 nerves. It says, and overlaid them with skin and filled it with flesh and bone and blood. Male and female in their bodies he created them. And he barakah them, and Yahuwah said to them, increase and multiply and fill the earth with sons and daughters, and prevail over it in its possession, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the fowls of the heavens, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. And so when we start looking at who one is, and you see the Aramaic Targum, and you see the ESV version, but you see he wanted Adam to rule the earth. He wanted to rule the earth. So the word for make, let us make man, is asa. It says to do. Right? Let us fashion or accomplish, to do, produce. Right? So when we see other words, it means to deal, to prepare, to attend, to put in order. Right? To observe, to celebrate, to acquire properly. So when we start looking at this, to ordain, to appoint, ordain, let us make, or let us ordain, let us, it says to be offered. Right? To do or make or exercise fashion. So when we start looking at these aspects, we look at Adam being formed from the dust of the ground. We look at him being formed from the dust of the ground, the Adama, but when we start looking at him, let us make, right? Let us prepare, let us accomplish, let us fashion. Right? Because most people, when we look at the creation of Adam, they don't look at it as an accomplishment for the beings that helped make it. They just look at it, oh, he just made them. No, this is an accomplishment. This is an accomplishment of Yahuwah and his Elohims. See, just like anything you do in the world, like when you create, a business or rocket, or you accomplish something in the world, but you had help to do it, but you accomplished it. But guess what? It's an accomplishment. And he says celebrate here. Why? Because when you accomplish something, you're supposed to celebrate when you accomplish it. No matter what it may be, it is a celebration. Why? Because why do all that work and don't celebrate? Why work for 6 days and don't celebrate the 7th day? Even Yahuwah did that. He worked for 6 days and he celebrated. It is an accomplishment, the 7th day. So when we look at these things, him creating Adam is an accomplishment. And we have to look at ourselves that way. Right? So the word for man is Adam, or Adam means man, mankind, human being. When Yahuwah accomplished and he formed man, and he fashioned man, Adam, guess what? It's an accomplishment to make a human being. I'm talking about from the Adama. From the Adama. I ain't talking about from a test tube or artificial insemination or put it inside of an egg, inside of a tube. I'm talking about from mud, red clay. Let me see you do that. And do it by the word, not by science. Right? So when we start looking at Adam, first man, right? Of course, human being, ruddy. Ruddy is red. It's ruddy. It's a brownish reddish color. It's ruddy. You're beautiful. This way of mine is beautiful. That's what Shalom wrote. Mankind, it means hypocrite, right? It also means hypocrite. Why? Because Adam did some things. So when we look at Adam, we look at the Aleph, we look at the Daleth and the Meme. So when we look at Aleph is strength, leader, conception, seed planting. The Daleth is what? Tent door. Tent door. You will find the wise sitting at the door. Yeah, tent door, passageway, exit, entrance, portal. Then you have Meme or Mem, water, semen, springs, flood, above and below, firmament, fullness of life, oil, flow, cleansing, anoint. So you look at the Aleph is 1, the Daleth is 4, and the Meme is 40. So when we start looking at these aspects, you look at the Aleph as the leader, strength. You look at the Daleth, the door, the tent. And you look at water, cleansing. Right? So you see strengthen the water door or strengthen the tent. So when we look at these aspects, we look at ourselves, we look at Adam, right? When you look at the Aleph and the Dam, which because you got Aleph that makes up Adam, and you have the Dam that represent blood. So you got strength in the blood. There's strength in the blood in Adam. Because you read in the Aramaic Targum, he said they put it with flesh and blood because there's strength in it. Like when we look at this strength that's in this blood, that's in Adam, right? We look at in a whole different way. Because this blood that he was formed and shaped from, this red clay, this Adama, that made him ruddy or beautiful. So you look at adding up the words, it equals to 441. You can read it from left to right. Left to right is 441. Right to left is 144, but it equals to 9. Right. When you look at 9, you can look at it in the culmination of 360 degrees. You also look at it in a way of a lot of many things. You can break it down to the smallest common denominator equals to 3. Right, so a lot of these aspects, to keep these things in mind as we move forward. So the word for image is salim. It means image. It says images, image, likeness, resemblance. It also means heathen gods, because you can make an image of a heathen god or an idol and you can worship it. It also means image of, it says tumors. Why? Because when you start looking at these images and these different worshiping of images that you see, it can make you sick, literally. So look at image and likeness. It means also phantom as well. So when we look at the formation of Adam, we look at it in the image and likeness. When Yahuwah speaking to his Elohims, and the Elohim said, let us make man in our own image. We look at it as an accomplishment. We look at it as something that's ruddy. Right? Mankind. It's an accomplishment. Right? It's the last day of their work, because he was made on the 6th day. After that, it's time to celebrate. So word for likeness is damuz, which is likeness similar to, like as. It also means concretely model, shape, fashion, manner similar to. So we're looking at our aspect, look who we are. When we look at ourselves, we have to look at ourselves the way he made us. The way he made us. Because one can go through Kaphar, Yom Kaphar, but do you know who you are? Right. So the word for dominion is Radah. Radah. He said, let them have dominion. It means to rule, to have dominion, to dominate. Dominate. Or you can look in other aspects in the world, whether it's competitions, and they talk about dominate. It's time to dominate. Like, we look at ourselves as Adam, it says to dominate. Right? It says to tread down, to have dominion, to rule, to subjugate, to cause to dominate, to scrape out. It means prevail against, to rule over. I made man, it says, let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, the cattle, the whole, all the earth. He said, dominate it. He said, rule it. This is our likeness. This is what we are. So this is Bereshit 1:28 through 31. It says, and the Yahuwah Elohim, the Yahuwah and the Elohim said, behold, I have given every plant yielding seed. Yahuwah said it. Every plant yielding seed that is on the face of the earth, and every tree with seed in its fruits, and you shall have them for food. And to every beast of the earth, and to every bird of the Shamayim, and to everything that creeps on the earth, everything that has breath of life, I have given every green plant for food, and it was so. And all Yahuwah saw everything that he made, and behold, it was very good. And there was evening and there was morning, the sixth, or Shashiyum, sixth day. Right? When you look at Yahuwah giving all the food to the animals and the creatures, he gave us what to eat. This is how he made us. This is what he gave us to do. He said, we're going to make man in our own image and our likeness. And we're going to let him have dominion. He's going to dominate. He's going to rule. And look what he get to eat. So this is the Aramaic Palestinian Targum section 1, Bereshit, same verse. And Yahuwah said, I have given every herb whose seed seeded upon the face of the earth, and every unfruitful tree for the need of building and for burning. All right, so when you look at this, we start looking at being unfruitful to Yahuwah. Right, but you look at a tree that's unfruitful on the earth, it's used for building things and for burning. We don't use trees that produce food for building. Things that don't produce any seed yielding fruits, you use those for building, but it says building and burning. Right? So being unfruitful, the only thing in this writing, it says the only thing he sees is burning and building. But it says, and the tree in which is fruit after its kind, to you it shall be for food. But to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the Shamayim, and to every reptile upon the earth, in which is a living soul, is the living soul, I have given all green herbs. And it was so. And Yahuwah beheld everything he had made, and it was very good. And it was evening, and it was morning, the sixth day. So you look at us being servants in the garden, the creatures and the plants, but then you start to see how being an unfruitful tree is something that he uses for burning. Right? And then when you start looking at every herb, right, whose seed is seeded upon the earth, and you start seeing the seeds, and you start seeing they have the seed less now. They have things that are not the way it was in the beginning. So this is the word for plants is a sheb or a shab. It means herb, herbage, grass, green plants. Right? Vegetation. These are the things when it talks about plants, a sheb, right? A shab. These are all things that he prescribed one to eat. The word for seed is Zara or Zera, right? It means to sow, to disseminate, to plant, to fruitify, to bear, to conceive seed. It also means what? To scatter, to sow, right? Yielding seed. So when you plant a seed in the ground, you're standing up, right? When you plant a seed, you bend down, it's ascended, then you descend, and you plant it in the ground. Right, the word for, you have zera, or zera, it means sowing, offspring, semen, right? Posterity, children. These are all aspects of things being sown and growing. Because these things bring life. Anything that's sown and growing, it brings life. Also, in Brown Jarvis Briggs, it means fruit, plant, sowing, posterity, carnally children, fruitful seed, sow time, right? So the word for food and meat in Bereshith is okla or akla, right? So when we start seeing food or for meat, it's okla, it means food. It says object of devouring, consuming by wild beasts, in fire, judgment, right? So consume, devour, eat, food, meat. Right? Because everything that's on the earth supposed to eat plants. That's how he originally made it. And every man is supposed to eat plants for meat. And fruits for meat, for food, for akla, right? That was the original plan. That is the plan of Yahuwah. I ain't gonna say original. That is his plan. And his plan ain't changed. The only thing that changed was us. That's the only thing that changed. He ain't stopped. He still wants everything the way it was. So as we go through that, we go through these things because when one does not understand these things, these principles, then when you move forward, it doesn't really, you really don't understand how Yahuwah feels. Because I don't think we really, when you start looking at the creator of all things in the highest Shamayim, the mother and father of all things, who created all things, you start to understand, just like an earth is a living being and it can bring forth seed. When you plant, it brings forth seed. Just like a woman brings forth children, the earth brings forth children too. And inside one's mind, you can bring forth children as well. Right? It's the same thing. But the word for Kaphar, the word for atonement, which is today Kaphar, atonement, it means to cover, to purge, right? To make an atonement, make reconciliation. To cover with pitch. Right? It also means to cover, it means to cover over, to atone for sin. To atone for sin and persons. By legal right. To be covered over. To cleanse also means to condone, to cover, to cancel. To purge away, to pardon, to pacify. All these are aspects of Kaphar, what they call atonement, atone. So you look at Kaphar, you got the Kaf, the Kayin, you got the Pa, the Resh. So you look at Kaf equals to 20, it equals leaf, hand, palm, productivity, and fruitfulness, and teachings. Right. You have Pa or Pei, you have equals 80 and equals mouth, voice, utterance, mouth. Right? It means mouth. It means that. You have the Rosh or the Resh, you have head, mind, chief, self, individual, or knowledge. Right? When you start adding these things up, you get 300. You add those up, you get 3. Right? And when you start looking at atonement, we start looking at it in the way it needs to be looked at. right? When you put the words together and you start to, formulate a meaning, it says, hand of productivity and fruitfulness uttered from the voice of the mouth of the chief, the head, the mind of individual self through knowledge. Remember, it says, they that trust understand the truth. They that don't espouse wisdom and nurture are not miserable. When we start looking at these aspects of Kaphar, which means to cover over, to atone for sin, to pardon, all these aspects of this day, we start thinking about the productivity of fruitfulness and utterance of the voice of the mouth of the chief, the head, the mind of individual self through knowledge. And then you think about the third day. So you go in Leviticus 23, 26 to 32. And Yahuwah spoke to Moshe, saying, now on the 10th day of this 7th month is the day of atonement, Yom Kaphar, and it shall be for you a time of Chudash convocation, and you shall afflict yourselves and present a food offering to Yahuwah. How you gonna present a food offering when you afflicting yourself? It says, and you shall not do any work or malakah, like we talked about during Turah, on that very day, for it is a day of atonement, or Yom Kaphar, right? To make Kaphar for you before Yahuwah your Elohim, your all. For whosoever is not afflicted on that very day shall be cut off from his people. Why is he doing that? Because he's trying to show people how to be one, and to do things as one, and to do things in unity as one. Why? Because that's what he did in creation. They did it as one. And when they did it as one, they created the whole universe, the cosmos. So he says, whosoever is not afflicted on that very day shall be cut off from his people. Why? We just read in the Aramaic Targums, he said, every unfruitful tree is used for building and burning. It's an aspect. If you say, what is he trying to teach his children? He's trying to teach people how to be one, to do things in unison. Verse 30 says, and whosoever does any work on that very day, that person I will destroy from among his people. He said he will destroy. And you start looking at this aspect, Yahuwah has not changed. How he's been doing things. He said, I will destroy. Not a person, not you or anybody. He said, I'm going to do it if one doesn't do it. He says, you shall not do any work. It is a statute forever throughout your generations. In all your dwelling places, it shall be a Shabbat of solemn rest. And you shall afflict your soul, afflict yourselves. On the 9th day of the month, beginning at evening. From evening to evening, you shall keep your Shabbat. Now you see why he's like, don't nobody do no work. Because when you go back to the beginning, 6 days he labored, the 7 he rested. He rested from all his labors. So if the Father rests, even Yahushua said, I only do what the Father do. Whatever I see the Father do, I do the same thing. So nobody do any work. So the Father and Mother says don't do anything. So you have a good understanding. But this goes a lot deeper. We're gonna get into that. So you look at Kaphar, you look at afflicted, you look at convocation, you look at Kaphar, which we just went over, but then you start looking at afflicting yourselves. So the word for convocation is mikra. It means convocation, convoking, conversation, reading, calling together, a sacred assembly. Convoking, it means reading. Called out, a public meeting, rehearsal, right? Assembly, convocation, reading. Right? You're supposed to read. Why? Because reading is something that allows things to take shape in one's mind. So look at convocation, look at it as mikra. Right? You say you have a Chudash convocation. So the word for and whosoever, because a lot of these words have been added, right? And whosoever, right? When you start looking at all, it says kol. It means all, whole, all, any, every, totality, everything. So when he talks about all, whosoever will not afflict themselves, we're talking about all the people need to afflict themselves. Why? It's a reason why. Totality of everybody. That's all the people. Right? So that word after all, it says whosoever, it says all souls, basically. When you read that word, it'll be kol nefash or kol nefesh, and whosoever. It means all souls. All souls. Nefesh. Self, life, creature, person. All appetites. All mind. So even mind. Living being, desires. All your desires, all emotions and passions. That which breathes, the breathing sustenance of being, soul, inner being, of man. All these things, nefesh. Whosoever does not afflict these things. That's what happens. You're afflicting the natural man. It says the inner being of man, living being. It says with life in the blood. It says the man himself. Individual, seat of appetites. These are all inward things. Seat of emotions. Because when you're afflicting yourself, it's an appetite, a craving. Not only is it distinguishing the cravings in your natural man, but it's distinguishing the cravings and behaviors that one wants to do. It says the activity, will, dubious. So when we start looking at nefesh, whosoever, all souls, whoever of all souls don't afflict themselves shall be cut off, right? That's what he's saying. And it says bodily, mentally, appetite. So when we start looking at these aspects, kol nefash, right? It is a day to afflict these parts of ourselves. So the word for afflicted in Leviticus is anah, right? So when we look at afflicting, all souls who don't afflict, that word for afflicted is anah. It means to be occupied. It says to afflict, to humble, to be bowed down. Right? It also means to be depressed, to humble oneself, to stoop. Right? Keep that in mind. To stoop. It also means to humble, to mishandle. It says afflict, to humble, be humiliated, to be humble, to humble oneself. Right? It also means to depress, of course. It also, in the Brown Jarvis Briggs, it means to abase, afflict. It also means to chasten self. Chasten self. To deal hardly with. To defile, to exercise, to force. You're forcing gentleness. To hurt, to ravish, to weaken. Right, so we look at this day are all souls who don't become low, because it also means to become low, to oppress down, to bow down, right? It also means to looking down or browbeating. Looking down and browbeating, or to bow. Right? To be bowed down. These are all important. Right? So, the reason why we look at these things for the day of the Yom Kaphar is because when you start looking at these aspects, you have to look at it on how Yahuwah sees it. Why are we doing Yom Kaphar? Is it because of something that one did correct? Or is it because of what one has done wrong? That's, is it because of what one has done in true and purity and righteous? Or is it because you've done something wrong? Right? So this is the Aramaic Polyseum Targum, section 1, Bereshit, Genesis. And Yahuwah saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and all the imagery and the thought of his heart was evil every day. It was evil every day. And it repented Yahuwah in his word that he had made man upon the earth, and he passed judgment upon them by his word. So you look at when we just read, he made Adam, he formed it, he shaped it, he accomplished it. He celebrated all these things he did. That's what it meant. In his likeness and his image and all these things. And now he's like, his thoughts are evil every day. Their thoughts are evil every day. I'm grieved that I even started this whole thing. He's like, I can't do it anymore. He says, and there was repentance before Yahuwah in his word that he had made upon the earth. And he said and judged in his mind, in his heart. He judged in his mind, in his heart. He judged. He didn't put, injustice in his mind. He judged in his mind, in his heart. And Yahuwah said, I will abolish by my word man whom I have created, or Adam whom I have created, upon the face of the earth, from man to cattle, to reptile, to fowls of heavens, because I have repented in my word that I have made them. But Nuach found favor before Yahuwah. So now you see how, not only with Adam, but you can see how every other thing that he had dominion over was also evil every day. Right? So even the things that he was over were evil every day. He said, it grieved me that I even made man, Adam, and these creatures that I put him over. So Bereshit 6 and 5. Yahuwah saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every intention and thoughts of his heart was evil continually. It was just evil. You look at this day, Yom Kaphar, right? It's talking about afflicting oneself. It's talking about humbling oneself. It's talking about bringing one low. It's talking about covering and atoning. But why is one atoning for sin and things? Why? It says humbling the seats of passions, humbling the seats of emotions, humbling the seats in one's mind. Why? Because every imagination and thought is evil continually. That's the only reason one is doing, he said, Yom Kaphar. Because Yom Kaphar represents the very thing that he started the whole world over for. Sin. And people doing stuff wrong. So, it says, and Yahuwah regretted that he had made, this is in Bereshit 65 ESV, that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him to his heart, to his mind. Yom Kaphar, it literally grieved him to his mind. It literally, in his mind, he realized, I can't do this anymore. I can't see these things anymore. Every day I have to look at this. So Yahuwah said, I will blot out man that I have created from the face of the land. Adam and the animals and the creeping things and the birds of the Shby'ayim. For I am sorry that I have made them. I'm sorry I made them. So you can see here how you could go back to what Kaphar means. It means to be sorry. It means to be sorry. It means to be humble. It means to what? Pardon. So these emotions and things and these regrets, to be regretful, that's what Kaphar is. These regrets that Yahuwah has, that he made man on the earth and every imagination and thought was evil continually. He's literally trying to get man to feel what he feels. That's all he's trying to do. He's trying to get man to feel how he feels. When he made man and the way they have turned into what they've become. He wants us to feel that way. And guess what he said? He said, but Nuach found favor in the eyes of Yahuwah. Keep that in mind. Out of all these stuff that he had made, he said, there's only one person that I see who found favor in my eyes. Right? We look at Kaphar, but what are we looking at? What's the reason why? So the word for imagination of man's heart is lab or lab. Every imagination of the inner man, mind, heart, understanding. Remember, understanding is what? Those who trust understand the truth. Their heart, their understanding, their mind, inner parts, the midst of things, the heart of man, their soul, every heart of man, every mind, knowledge, thinking, everything they think, reflection, and memory. Every memory, reflection, thinking, knowledge, mind is evil continually. Man and beast, and animals, and birds. Every inclination, resolution, determination, they're determined to do evil. Conscience, the unseen world, your conscience is evil. The heart and moral character is evil. The seat of appetites. Appetites. He gave every herb-yielding seed okla for food. That was for the animals as well. But he wanted to get rid of the animals and man. So guess what? The animals wasn't doing what they supposed to do during that time either, because man is dominion and instruction to these creatures. Because remember, man left off what they were supposed to do. Animals can see you too. When you transgress, they can see when you don't do the original plan of Bereshit. It's a seat of emotions and passions, a seat of courage. Every seat of courage is evil. The courage is emotions and passions. We taught this before, but Kaphar, that's what it represents. When they were in the wilderness, when they were doing all these things out there with Moses, Mashah, and all the people, they had every imagination and thought was evil continually. That's why they kept killing animals every single time. That's why they kept going and keep doing it over and over and over again. 2 turtle doves, 2 ox, 2 goats, 2 sheep. They just kept doing it over and over again. It's just evil continually. Every day. Offering sacrifices, offering sin, right? So this is the word for thought. It says every thought was evil. So makashaba, it means thought, device, plan, purpose. Every purpose and invention, device, plan, thought, it was evil. It's all meant for evil and profit and money. It's for consumption, for consuming. That's what it's made for. That's all they wanted to use it for. It's a plan, bad plot, every plot. And you wonder on the television that every single plot, every single thing, that mostly everything they put on there is evil continually. There's some kind of plot, but it's evil plots. You think about all these evil stuff from the music, from everything. It's producing the very thing that he destroyed before. And it says cunning, curious word, device, imaginate, invented, means, purpose, thought is evil continually. So the word for evil is ra. Ra. I know some people, think that word ra, they'd be like, oh, that's, Mizraim. We keep forgetting Mizraim came out from Cush, came out from righteous Noah. That's who he came out from. But then people say, what is Ra? Ra been here a long time before, before all that stuff came about. You start looking at these aspects of this word Ra, and you start thinking about, okay, what were they teaching during that time? Where did Cush learn that from? Oh, there's a lot of other things going on during that time too. Where they learned it from? It came out from Mizraim, they say the Egyptians, right? But where did Cush learn it from? Okay. Every imagination was evil. It was bad. Every thought, every memory was bad. Every imagination and purpose was disagreeable, malignant, bad, unpleasant, pain, giving pain, unhappiness, misery. We talked about misery, right? We know that. He said, he that despise wisdom and nurture and don't trust in Yahuwah. He said, you don't understand the truth and you despise wisdom and nurture, you miserable. He said, every imagination, it was evil, misery, displeasing, kind. Even their kindness was evil. He says, the land, water was evil. Everything messed up. Value. We talk about the equitable word. No, every word of Yahuwah is equitable. He says bad of value, worse. It says unhappy, hurtful, unkind, just misery, injury, calamity. That's it. Every imagination is just injury. Just want to injure people. Feminine. It says evil, calamity, displeased, mark, mischief, noisome, vex. So when we start looking at this word ra, right, we start looking at this, it says wrong. Every imagination was wrong. He said, if you despise wisdom and nurture, you are a miserable person. People say, how you despise it? We despise it in our minds. Because just like we talked about before, Yakazi, we have a stony heart. We have a hard-hearted. We're hard-hearted. We're hard-hearted. We're hard-hearted people. That's what Yom Kaphar represents. It means to humble oneself. It means it's there to humble our minds. It's there to humble our thoughts. Our seat of emotions and passions is there to make us sorrowful and sorry. That's what it's here for. So Bereshit 6:14, and Yahuwah said to Nuach. So he said Nuach found favor. It says, and Yahuwah said to Nuach, I have determined to make an end of all flesh, for the earth is filled with violence through them. Right? Behold, I will destroy them with the earth, the Elites. Make yourself an ark of gopher wood. Make rooms in the ark, and cover it inside and out with pitch. That word for pitch is Kaphar. When it says cover it inside with pitch, that word is Kaphar. That's what Kaphar means. It means to cover. So when you look at every imagination and thought was only evil continually, and the reason why we're doing Kaphar is for what? To humble our minds and our thoughts, to bring us to feel sorry, to be humble. Why? Because every imagination and thought is only evil continually. But then you start to see, here's somebody here. Oh, atonement. Kaphar. After all that. This is how you are to make it. The length of the ark is 300 cubits. Its breadth is 50 cubits. and its height is 30 cubits. Make a room for the ark, and finish it to a cubit above, and set the door of the ark in its side. Make it with lower and second and third decks. For behold, I will bring a flood of waters upon the earth, and to destroy all flesh, which is the breath of life under Shby'ay. So when you start looking at judgment, that's what this day represents. Judgment. Kaphar, he's making an atonement because he's getting ready to destroy those people, but he's like, I got Kaphar for you. I'm gonna make an atonement for you. New walk. Why? Because you are righteous. I'm gonna make an atonement for you. I'm gonna pardon you. That's what atonement means. Kaphar, it means to cover. I'm gonna pardon you. Everybody else, I'm not. And guess what he says? He says, and I will bring a flood upon the waters upon the earth and destroy all flesh, in which is the breath of life under Shby'ay. Everything that is on the earth shall die. Just like he said, we just read in Leviticus. He said, whosoever don't do this, Yom Kaphar, he said, guess what? I'm going to what? I'm going to destroy them. He said, why are they going to do that? Because Nuach was the only never mind. Kaphar. Nuach was the only person who found favor. Let me guess. He was the only person who was sorry. He was the only person who was humble. He was the only person who was sorry for what was going on. He was the only person that was fasting, who was afflicting himself because of what was going on around him during that time. He was the only one doing it. Out of all the people, he was the only one doing it. Kaphar. And he pardoned him. And we look at this day as Yom Kaphar. And it says, but I will, and guess what it says? He said, but I will establish my covenant with you. I'm going to establish this agreement, this marriage with you. And you shall come into the ark, you and your sons and your wife, and your sons' wives with you. So you know why? Because he ain't despised wisdom and nurture. He trusted in Yahuwah, and guess what? He understood the truth. And guess what? His wives were not foolish, and his sons were not cursed. Why? They weren't going down with the people. It says, and every living thing, guess what it says? And your sons with you, and every living thing of all flesh. You shall bring 2 of every sort into the ark to keep them alive with you. They shall be male and female, of birds according to their kinds, of the animals according to their kinds, of every creeping thing on the ground according to its kinds. 2 of every sort shall come into you to keep them alive. So there's some other things that was there that he pardoned as well. Other creatures as well. It says, also take with you every sort of food that is eaten. I wonder what type of food he brought in, because we had the original commandment. Every herb yielding seed, fruit, and for food for you and for the animals. All herbs, right? So I'm sure, let me guess, he brought on he fed them the other animals. He says, and store it up. It shall serve as food for you and for them. And Nuach did this. He did all that Yahuwah commanded him. How did he command him? By the word. By the same word he was going to destroy everything, by the same word he commanded him. And he going to destroy everything he created at first, and he's going to start over again. He just repented himself. That's what Kaphar represents. That's what it represents. He pardoned. He covered him. And that's what he did. So the Aleph, right, when you start looking at, when he said pitch it, 30 cubits, 50 cubits, 300 cubits, 50 cubits, 30 cubits. You look at the Shin or the Shan and the Nun and the Lamed, right? Because each one of those numbers represents a Aleph number, according to the numbering cycles and how to add them. So look at the Shan, it means wisdom, it means sun, it means destruction also. You have Nun, it means life continual, son of man, perpetual. You have Lamed, good teacher, it means good, teacher, expert, guide, and learn. So when we look at wisdom, right? Wisdom is life continual. So when we look at, when we add up all the words, right? It says wisdom and life continual in the good teacher and expert. Learn. Remember we talked about in the Wisdom of Solomon, it talks about these things come from learning. Learning. Why? Because it's life to learn. He just gave Nuach a bunch of things by his word, and he had to learn them, and then he did it. And he gave him a Kaphar. How you say? He pardoned him by if he did everything he commanded him. So when we look at the Shan is 300, the Nun is 50, and the Lamed is 30, equals to 380, right? Equals to 11, equals to 2. When you break it, when you add both numbers up, 11 equals to 2. When you get the second letter of the alphabet, it means Bayith, house, tent, palace, inward parts, body. Right? When you start looking at the house, look at the tent, the palace, the inward parts, the body. And so he said, picture it with 300 cubits, 50 cubits, and 30 cubits. When you break it down to its most smallest number, you get the second letter of the alphabet, which means a house, tent, palace, inward parts, body. So Hebrews 11:7 says, by Amunah, Nuach, being warned of Elohim Yahuwah concerning events as yet unseen, in reverent fear constructed an ark. Oh, you mean a house? For the saving of his household. Oh, you mean a house? But by this he condemned the world. By doing this, he condemned the world. Now, if he wouldn't have did it, there wouldn't have been no Hebrews 11 or Proverbs or, or Peter, had he not done it. But it says, condemned the world and became an heir of righteousness that comes by faith, Amunah. Why? By hearing the word of Yahuwah and doing it, you now exercise Amunah. Just like today, Yom Kaphar. What does Kaphar represent? Pitching it, covering it, just like he did the ark right here. You covering your house. Oh, you mean you're sorry for what you see in the world. You're sorry for the things that you see. You're sorry for the things that you see. So you're humbled. Right? But Amunah, faith. Faith is the things hope, substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. These things were unseen, but he believed it was going to happen, and he prepared himself for it. Oh, prepare. To prepare. That's what Adam, or what was that? What word was that? Prepare. So Bereshit 6 and 11. It says, now the earth was corrupted in Yahuwah's sight, and the earth was filled with violence. This is what Kaphar represents. Is one humble? Is one sorry? Is one looking at the things on the earth how Yahuwah is looking at things on the earth? Because that, how he feels, is the same way one should feel. Why? Because that's exactly how he feels. He says, earth was filled with violence, and Yahuwah saw the earth, and it was corrupt, For all flesh had corrupted their way on the earth. So the word for violence is kamak. It means violence, wrong, cruelty, injustice. When we talked about in EU Job, it says what? Remove injustice from your tents. Oh, you mean you supposed to be wise at the tent door, but you got injustice in your tent. But you wise at the tent door to serve somebody, but yet you got injustice in your tent. You're lying. People say stop lying to oneself. He said the whole earth was filled with violence. I mean, people are filled with injustice and cruelty and violence and wrong. That's what inside of their body. That's inside. And guess what it says also in Brown Jar J? It says they are filled with unjust gain, damage, unrighteousness, violent dealings, malicious. As the days of Nuach, so shall it also be. Right? This is what Yom Kaphar represents. We look at Yom Kaphar. We look at the aspects of Yom Kaphar. The covering, the pardon, to feel sorry, to be humbled. But when we look at why, because every imagination and thoughts of Adam, of the children of Adam, of man, is only evil continually. And are you feeling, how you say, sorry or humbled and looking at the things on the earth? And are you like Nuach? Are you doing something that Yahuwah is pleased with? So then it says, because we know in Matthew 23 and 25, it says, woe to you, scribes, Pharisees, and hypocrites, for you cleanse the outside of the cup and the plate, but inside they are full of greed and self-indulgence. Right? He says, pitch it within and without. Kaphar. You know why people are full of greed and self-indulgence and unjust gain and self-indulgence? Because they're not sorry. They're not humbled. He says, you blind Pharisees, first clean the inside of the cup and the plate, that the outside may be clean. Pitch it within and without. Kaphar, cover it within and without. The only way you're going to cover something within, you got to inflict yourself. You can put on a garment. We can all put on a garment, get a nice white little robe, put on a nice white linen garment, put on something, white tee or whatever you want to put on, and make yourself look like you're righteous. You can pitch it without, but you got to pitch it within. You got Kaphar on the inside in order to, how you say, pitch it within. You got to humble them emotions, those passions, those evil desires, those evil memories, those evil thoughts. You got to humble those things. That's how you pitch it within. You got to bring it into, how you say, subjection so it can be covered, a pardon. That's the only way you can pitch it within. It says, woe to you, scribes, Pharisees, and hypocrites. You know, people don't know what woe means. Woe means destruction. That's the same thing that happened in the days of Nuach. Destruction. Woe to you, scribes, Pharisees, and hypocrites, for you are like whitewashed tombs, which outwardly appear beautiful. But within are full of dead people's bones and all uncleanness. Every imagination and thought is only evil continually. That's why. So you also outwardly appear righteous to others, but within you are full of hypocrisy and lawlessness. Every imagination and thought is only evil continually. He said, I'm sorry that I made man on the earth. Oh, you mean Kaphar. But Yahuwah has a plan, right? So this is Yeshayahu 58:6. It says, is not this the fast that I chose? To loose the bonds of wickedness, to loose every imagination and thought and purpose and evil memory and evil thought and how you say the courage to do evil, to loose the bonds of wickedness, to undo the straps of the yoke, to let the oppressed go free. You mean oppressed with demons? Yeah, to let the oppressed go free, to break every yoke. Is it not to share your bread with the hungry? Keep that in mind. And to bring the homeless and the poor into your house? Keep that in mind. When you see the naked, to cover him, and not to hide yourself from your own flesh? Oh, you mean the people that, oh, I'm going to bring an end to all flesh. I'm going to bring an end to all flesh. Because you know why? Nobody cares about nobody. Everybody's only focused on their own gain, unjust gain. Every imagination and thought is only evil continually. Don't y'all care about your own flesh? You're all one family. Guess what it says? Then shall your light break forth like the dawn, and your healing shall spring up speedily. Your righteousness shall go before you, and your kabod of Yahuwah shall be your rear guard. Right? So when we start looking at the reason why, because everything that one does, that's what do means. You know, a servant, one of the words for abad is do. When we start looking at a servant, it's something that you do. Right? These are things that one has to do. Right? We talk about, he said, being a light to the dark world. We look at Nuach, right? He told him to make him an ark, Kaphar. And what did he do? Bring some other flesh in there that I tell you to. Bring some other creatures in there that I tell you to, into the ark. Into your house. Bring them in there by twos, and bring the food in there too. Oh, you mean give bread to the hungry? And those who ain't got nowhere to stay, bring them in your house, your ark. Cover their nakedness. Isn't that what Kaphar means? So Leviticus 20 and 40. But if they confess their iniquity and their iniquity of their fathers in their treachery that they committed against me, and also in walking contrary to me, what did they do? He said, all have corrupted their way on the earth in the beginning. So that I walked contrary to them and brought them into this land of their enemies. If their uncircumcised heart is humbled, that's what Kaphar means, to be humbled. Nuach. And they make amends for their iniquity, Nuach, Noah. Then I will remember my covenant, Nuach, with your code. Remember when he said, I'm going to establish my covenant with you, Noah, Nuach, because of what you do. And I will remember my covenant with Isaac and my covenant with Abraham, and I will remember the land. I want Yahuwah to remember me. You know how he was on the cross, on the thief, on the two thieves on the cross? He said, remember me in paradise. Because he confessed his sins up there. He said, remember me in paradise. So Romans 10 through 17. For with the heart man believeth unto righteousness, but with the mouth confession is made unto salvation. Isn't that what Kaphar means? And then we talked about mouth. We talked about utterance of one's own self. Fruitfulness. when we start looking at these aspects, these are all aspects of what Kaphar means. It means to utter from one's mouth. It means to have fruitfulness when one utters, right, wisdom and knowledge. You can't utter anything from your mouth. You say, I don't understand anything, because one just has turned to despise Yahuwah, and how you say, don't trust in him. If he said, I don't understand what to actually do, that's why. He said, you despise wisdom and nurture. He said, with the heart man believes unto righteousness, and the mouth confession is made unto, which means one has to continually do it. That's why Nuach found favor and he got salvation. What do you mean? He saved him. He pardoned him. He Kaphar. He covered him. So the word for fasting is sum or zoom. They say sum. They say zoom. Right? When they say zoom, some people say, fasting or fasting. Right? That's what it means, to zoom. He said fasting. What do you mean fast? Move faster. What do you mean fasting? It speeds up the course of your molecules. It makes your vibrations go higher. It turns up your frequency in your inward man. It brings your inward man to a higher state of being. Then when you get to a higher state of being, then you'll feel just like Yahuwah does. I'm sorry that I even made these things. I'm grieved. You start feeling sorry. You start being humble. You start understanding Kaphar, what it means, and why he was so sorry, and how he covered other people. Why is one? See, the thing about it, Yahuwah wanted to destroy man, but he thought upon other people, and he covered them. Is this not a fast that I chose? So we look at sum, or sum, right? So the Leviticus 16 and 1, right? So now we start looking at the culmination of these things. So now you're going to start to see where things went wrong, and why it's important to understand. So why'd you start at the beginning? Because when you start there, everything else just makes it look, you start to see. This is Leviticus 16 and 1. This is the whole Leviticus, what they call Yakor, or Leviticus 16, right, and 1. And Yahuwah spoke to Moshe after the death of his two sons Aaron, when they drew near before Yahuwah and died. And Yahuwah said to Moshe, tell Aaron your brother not to come to any time into the Kadosh place inside the veil before the mercy seat that is on the ark, so that he may not die. For I will appear in a cloud over the mercy seat. But in this way Aaron shall come into the Kadosh place with a bull from the herd of a sin offering, and a ram for a burnt offering. He shall put on the Kadosh linen coat, and shall have the linen undergarment on his body. And he shall tie the linen sash around his waist, and wear a linen turban. These are the Kadosh garments. He shall bathe his body in water, and then put them on. And he shall take from the congregation of the people of Yasharal 2 male goats for a sin offering, and 1 ram for a burnt offering. So he's taking this from the congregation of the people of Yasharal. 2 male goats for a sin offering, and 1 ram for a burnt offering. It says, and Aaron shall offer the bull as a sin offering for himself, and shall make an atonement for himself and for his house. Then he shall take the 2 goats and set them before Yahuwah at the entrance of the tent meeting. Right? So he got these animals, these other beings at the entrance of the tent meeting. There's an Aaron shall cast lots over the 2 goats, 1 lot for Yahuwah and the other lot for Azazel. Right? And Aaron shall present the goat on which the lot fell for Yahuwah, and use it as a sin offering. But the goat on which the lot fell for Azazel shall be presented alive before Yahuwah to make an atonement over it. So you got one, it says over it, that it may be sent away in the wilderness to Azazel. So you got a goat that was going to be sent, an offering going to be sent out into the wilderness to Azazel. Then you have one that was not alive. Right. So you got one that's alive and one that's sent out in the wilderness, and you got one that's alive. And Aaron shall present the bull as a sin offering for himself, and shall make an atonement for himself and for his house. And he shall kill the bull as a sin offering for himself. And he shall take a censer of coals of fire from the altar before Yahuwah, and 2 handfuls of sweet incense beaten small. And he shall bring it inside the veil, and put the incense on the fire before Yahuwah, that the cloud of the incense may cover the mercy seat that is over the testimony, so that he does not die. And he shall take some of the blood of the bull and sprinkle it within his finger on the front of the mercy seat, on the east side in front of the mercy seat, and he shall sprinkle some of the blood with his finger 7 times. Then he shall kill the goat of the sin offering, that is for the people, and bring its blood inside the veil, and do with its blood as he did with the blood of the bull, sprinkling it over the mercy seat and in front of the mercy seat. So you see all these things going on with these goats and these animals and these ox being slain and killed. Now when you go back to the beginning, you understand why Yahuwah is upset. But he said every imagination and thought was evil continually. He said, man, I can't, every thought, every day. Didn't you know do you understand? It says, and thus, then we're going to keep reading. This continue. Thus ye shall make an atonement for the Kadosh place, because of the uncleanness of the people of Yasharal, and because of the transgressions, all their sins. And so he shall do for the tent meeting, which dwells with them in the midst of their uncleanness. It says, no one may be in the tent of meeting from the time he enters to make an atonement and do this place until he comes out and has made an atonement for himself and for the house and for all the assembly of Yasharal. So you can see he did it for himself, he did it for his house, and then he did it for the whole assembly. Because amazingly, you see when Nuach went into the ark, what did he have? He said, I'm going to establish my covenant with you and with your wives, your house, and with all the animals, and bring them into the ark. He says, and guess what it says? And then he shall go to the altar that is before Yahuwah and make an atonement for it, and shall take some of the blood and the bull and some of the blood of the goat and put it on the horns of the altar all around. And he shall sprinkle some of the blood on it with its finger 7 times, and cleanse it and consecrate it from the uncleanness of the people of Yasharal. And when he had made an end of atoning for the Kadosh place, and the tent meeting, and the altar, he shall present the live goat. And Aaron shall lay both his hands on the head of the live goat. So he had to lay his hands on both the head of the live goat, and confess over it all the iniquities of the people of Yasharal and all the transgressions of their sins. And he shall put them on the head of the goat and send it away into the wilderness by the hand of a man who is in readiness. The goat shall bear all the iniquities on itself to a remote area, and he shall let the goat go free into the wilderness. Then Aaron shall come into the tent of the meeting, and shall take off the linen garments that he put on when he went into the Kadosh place, and shall leave them there. And he shall bathe his body in water in the Kadosh place, and put on his garments, and come out, and to offer his burnt offering. And it says, and the burnt offering of the people, and make an atonement for himself and for the people. And the fat of the sin offering he shall burn on the altar. And he who let the goat go to Azazel shall wash his clothes and bathe his body in water, and afterwards he shall come into the camp. And the bull of the sin offering and the goat of the sin offering, whose blood was brought in to make an atonement in the Kadosh place, shall be carried outside the camp. Outside the camp. So their skin and their flesh and their dung shall be burned up with fire, and he who burns them shall wash his clothes and bathe his body in water, and afterward he may come into the camp. So you see a lot of burning and killing and burning animals and killing them and doing all these things and atoning, just continually to atone, right? So this continue on, Leviticus 29, getting to the end, it says, and this shall be a statute to you forever, that in the 7th month, on the 10th day of the month, you shall afflict yourselves, and shall not do no work, either the native or the stranger who sojourns among you. For on this day shall be an atonement to be made for you to cleanse you. So if it's an atonement to cleanse you, why are they killing animals? It's here to cleanse a person. Right? So here we go. We're going to get into that. For on this day shall atonement be made for you, to cleanse you. Why? By afflicting your body. To humble one's body, to feel sorry in one's body, to confess in one's body, to be covered from all of the evil that you see people doing, or that you do. On a daily basis, because he said every imagination was evil continually. That's the only reason people do it. It says, you shall be clean from before Yahuwah from all your sins by afflicting yourself. It says, it is a Shabbat of solemn rest for you, and you shall afflict yourselves. It is a statute forever. And the priest who is anointed, and consecrated as priest in his father's place, shall make an atonement, wearing the Kadosh garments, linen garments. He shall make an atonement for the Kadosh sanctuary, and he shall make an atonement for the tent of meeting, and for the altar, and he shall make an atonement for the priests, and for all the people of the assembly. And this shall be a statute forever for you, that the atonement be made for the people of Yasharal once in a year, because of all their sins, because every imagination and thought was only evil continually. So he has to have a Kaphar for them to cover. But Nuach found favor. He said, pitch it, Kaphar, within and without. Kaphar. It says, and Aaron did as Yahuwah commanded Moshe. Now, when we start looking at this aspect, we have to look at it in the way you need to look at it. Remember, there's a lot of things Yahuwah never told people to do. I never told them to do that. Right? Yochanan 129 says, the next day he saw Yahusha coming toward him and said, behold, the Lamb of all, or Yahuwah, who takes away the sin of the world. This is whom I said, after me comes a man who is ranked before me, because he was before me. He was before everybody, before even the sea got its decree, before wisdom was even created. Before all these things even created, before things that we buy even created. The comfort, and before all these things we had, he was here before that. He says, he was before me. I myself did not know him. For this purpose, I came immersing with water, that he might be revealed to Yasharal. And Yehukanan bore witness. I saw the Ruach descend from Shamayim like a dove, and it remained on him. I myself did not know him, but he who sent me to immerse with water said to me, he whom you see the Ruach descend and remain, this is he who immerses with the Kadush Ruach. And I have seen and have borne witness that this is the son of Yahuwah. The next day he saw Yahusha coming toward him and said, behold the Lamb who takes away the sin of the world. Right? So when we start looking at, it said what? It said the anointed priest shall go and make a what? An atonement. Whom the anointing is on, right? So Leviticus 21:10, it says, the priest Kahan, who is chief among his brothers, on whose head the anointing oil is poured, and who has been consecrated to wear the garments, because they were linen garments, to go in and make it do these things, shall not let the hair of his head hang loose, nor tear his clothes. It says, he shall not go into any dead bodies, nor make himself unclean, even for his father or for his mother. He shall not go out of the sanctuary, lest he profane the sanctuary of his all, for the consecration of the anointing oil of his all ahim is on him. I am Yahuwah. Right? So when you start looking at him, this anointed person with the anointing oil on him, he was somebody who was supposed to do the offering of the atonement. It says, Matthew 26:6, it says, now when Yahusha was in Bethany in the house of Simon the leper, a woman came unto him with an alabaster flask and very expensive ointment, and she poured it on his head as he reclined at the table. And when the disciples saw it, they were indignant, saying, why this waste? For this could have been sold large sums and given to the poor. Oh, you mean given to the poor? Oh, you mean given? Is this the fast that I chose? To bring people, bring somebody in your house that's poor? Oh, you mean Yahusha was in Bethany in the house of Simon the leper? Oh, you mean bringing the poor in your house? Remember, Yahusha said, foxes have holes, the birds of the air have nests. I have nowhere to lay my head. Oh, he brought him in the house. Oh, is this the fast that I chose? Right. And then she poured the oil on his head. So he brought a poor man in the house. Is this the fast that I chose? And he poured oil on his head. Oh, you mean the high priest? Oh, you mean the priest with the linen garments? It says, but Yahusha, aware of this, said to them, why do you trouble the woman? What you troubling this woman for? For she has done a beautiful thing for me. Oh, my way is beautiful, like Shalom said. Didn't he say that? This way of mine is beautiful. For you always have the poor with you. This is not a fast that I chose? To give bread to the hungry? To cover the naked? To bring the destitute and those in your house? He said, then your light will shine as a noonday. It says, but you will not always have me. In pouring this ointment on my body, she has done it to prepare me for my burial. His burial. Oh, you mean he told Aaron not to come toward Yahuwah? Why? He said, you're going to die. He said, make sure you have all these garments on and make sure you have no unclean thing, right? You got to be so washed. You got to wash yourself and clean, right? He had to be clean. He had to have all the nice stuff on. He had to have the linen garments, the linen turban, and all these things, right? He couldn't have no type of ill-favoredness, no blood on him, no nothing, right? He had to wash himself, right? He had to have all that stuff on, right? in order to come. If he came any other way opposite of what Yahuwah said, he gonna die, right? Well, let's see what happens to this priest, this high priest, this poor high priest who just went in, who brought in somebody's house, and who got oil poured on his head. Let's see. Truly I say to you, wherever this Amat is proclaimed, this truth is proclaimed in the world, whole world, what she has done will also be told in memory of her. He's like, oh, blessed child. You know how to, but we look at this person as an individual, right, who did something that was greater than anybody else in that room right there. Than anybody could ever do right now in that room. So this is Yehukanai 18:1. So when Yahushua had spoken these words, he went out with his disciples across the brook of Kidron. And it says, where there was a garden. It says, which he had and his disciples entered. Now Judas, who betrayed him, also knew the place, for Yahushua often met there with his disciples. So Judas, having procured a band of soldiers and some officers, there you go, got some soldiers, some officers such and such, officers. Well, you need them officers, right? It says from the chief priests. Oh, you mean the Levi, the Levitical priesthood? You know, Aaron and his sons. The chief priests and the Pharisees went there with lanterns and torches and weapons. Thus, then Yahushua, knowing all that would have happened to him, came forward and said to them, whom do you seek? They answered him, Yahushua of Nazareth. Yahushua said to them, I am he. Judas, who betrayed him, was standing with them. When Yahushua said to them, I am he. So they drew back and fell to the ground. So he asked them again, whom do you seek? And they said, Yahushua of Nazareth. Yahushua answered, I told you that I am he. So if you seek me, let these men go. This was to fulfill the word that was spoken. Of those whom you gave me, I have lost not one. Then Simon Kaphar, having a sword, drew it and struck the high priest's servant. So the same high priest. So Yahushua just got anointed high priest, right? From Yehuda, in the house of a poor man. Oh, you mean in a man? He was poor and he was brought into the house and he was anointed high priest inside of the house. But the high priest servant, Kaphar, cut his ear off. So there is a high priest, right? But yet Yahushua been anointed high priest, but he ain't in the same. He ain't got the garments on, like, you know, all the stuff they gotta have on. He ain't, you know, all the stuff that they looking at. Why your disciples washing with unwashed hands and all these things they looking at? Not even realizing what's getting ready to happen, right? So here we go. And it says, drew it and struck the high priest's servant and cut off his ear. The servant's name was Malchus. So Yahushua said to Peter, put your sword in its sheath. Shall I not drink the cup that the Father has given me? Shall I not drink it? Right? So the band of soldiers and their captain and their officers and the Yahudim arrested Yahushua and bound him. First they led him to Annas, for he was the father-in-law of Caiaphas. What were they supposed to do with the two goats and the ox? They supposed to take these animals from the herd of Yasharal, right, and bring it to the priest to be offered. That's where they're supposed to get it from. They're supposed to get one for what? For Azazel and one for Yahuwah. and for the people. But you had to get it from Yasharal. You couldn't get it from nowhere else. He couldn't go to the Greeks. He couldn't go to the barbarians. He couldn't go to the Arabians or he couldn't go. He had to go to get it from Yasharal. He couldn't get it from nowhere else. Behold, the Lamb of Yahuwah takes away the sin of the world. He couldn't get this animal from nowhere else. He had to get this person from Yasharal. And he had to bring it to the priest, the high priest. So look what they're doing. First, they led him to Ananias, for he was the father-in-law of Caiaphas, who was the high priest that year. It was Caiaphas who had advised the Yahudim that it was expedient that one should die for the people. Oh, the high priest said, hey, one person got to die for all the people. Somebody got to die. Is it you, high priest? Oh, you got all the stuff. You going to make the atonement for the people every year, for yourself, for your household, and for the people. But Yahusha just got anointed in the house with a woman, a lady, a woman who anointed him high priest with anointing oil poured on him, in a house of a leper. Everything against what you call the Levites. You ain't supposed to be in no house of no leper. You think about that. Everything you see him doing is opposite of everything they're doing. And then you see him getting ready to do something. He getting ready to do something for us. So you look at this aspect. You look at these things, right? You start looking at these aspects in these ways that we live, right? They were living. So here we go. This is the Dead Sea Scrolls. 11Q19 says the high priest will cast lots concerning the two goats. One will fall by lot to Yahuwah and the other to the Azazel. Man, it's expedient that one die for all the people of Yasharah. Boy, it's expedient. That's what the high priest said. And they will slaughter the he-goat which has fallen by the lot of Yahuwah, and the priest will receive its blood in the golden sprinkling bowl, which he has in his hand, and will treat its blood as he treated the blood of the bullock, which was for himself, and with it he will atone for all the people of the assembly. And its fat and the offering of its libation it will burn on the altar of the burning offering. It says, but its flesh, its hide, and its entrails they shall burn next to his bullock. It is a sin offering for the assembly, and he atones with it for all the people of the assembly, and they shall be forgiven. The high priest doing exactly what he's supposed to do. It's atonement. It's Kaphar, right? He's like, man, it's expedient. Somebody got to die. And he shall wash his hands and his feet from the blood of the sin offering, and will go to living he-goat, and will confess over its head all the sins of the children of Yasharal, with all 12 their guilt together with all their sins. Well, with all their guilt together with all their sins, and he shall place them upon the head of the goats, and will send it to Azazel. What you doing sending stuff to Azazel for? It says, to the desert from the hand of the man indicated that in the he-goat will take with itself all the sins. All the sins. So this Aramaic Targum, Genesis 6, 1-4. Says, when the children of man began to multiply on the face of the earth, and beautiful daughters were born to them, the sons of the great ones saw the daughters of men were beautiful, and they painted their eyes and put on rouge, and walked about with naked flesh. Right? That's what you see today. You see it on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You see it everywhere. Right? You see it everywhere. They conceive lustful thoughts. That's what they're going to do. Every imagination and thoughts will only evil continually. What do you think is going to happen? It says, and they took wives to themselves from among all who pleased them. It didn't matter if they were married, single. Didn't matter if they had It didn't matter. They were virgins. It didn't matter. It says, Yahuwah said in his memoir, none of the evil generations that are to arise in the future will be judged according to the order of the judgment applied to the generations of the flood. That is to be destroyed and wiped out from the world. Did I not put my Ruach in them that they might perform good deeds? So every imagination and thought was to be good. That's what I put it in there for. But guess what? But behold, their deeds are evil. Behold, I gave them an extension of 120 years that they might repent. They might repent. I'm giving you all these years to tashu, to return, to repent. But they have not done so. They still ain't do it. And guess what it says? Semjaza and Azazel fell from Shamayim and were on the earth in those days. And also, after the sons of the great ones had gone into the daughters of men who bore children, and they called them heroes or giants or Nephilim, the men of renown. So this is first Enoch, Olive Canuk. So we looking at this person, Azazel, they keep sending this goat out to. This being. It says, and Azazel taught the people the art of making swords and knives and shields and breastplates. How you gonna kill it? How you gonna slaughter an animal? You're gonna need these things. It says, and he showed to their chosen ones bracelets and decorations and shadowing of the eyes with antimony and ornamentation and beautifying the eyelids and all kinds of precious stones and all coloring and tinctures and alchemy. And there were many wicked ones, and they committed adultery and erred, and all their conduct became corrupt. This is Aleph Kanuk, or first Enoch 10 and 8. It says, and the whole world has been corrupted by Azazel's teaching. So now you start seeing, my son, do not forget the commandment of your father nor the teaching of your mother. Right? You start seeing information, teachings. Right? We talk about the wise instructor. Pitch it within, without. 300, right? All the way to 30. You're talking about the wise instructor, teacher of life. Learn. The good teacher. And this is an evil teacher. It says, Azazel teaching of his own actions and write upon him all the sin. Oh. The teachings of his own actions and write upon him all the sin. Write upon Azazel all the teachings of his sin. It says, and Gabriel said, proceed against the bastards and the reprobates and against the children of adultery, and destroy the children of adultery, and expel the children of the watchers from among the people, and send them against one another, so that they may be destroyed. In the fight for the length of days have they not. They will beg you everything for their fathers on behalf of themselves, because they hope to live an eternal life. They hope that each one of them will live a period of 500 years. So when you start looking at they sending out to Azazel, they sending it out to him, right? They putting all the sin on and sending it to Azazel, right? But you see here, they put all the sin on Azazel, on his own actions. Well, we're sending a goat out to Azazel, a animal out to Azazel, not putting the sin on Azazel. We're sending a goat out to him in representation. Send it to Azazel. So this is the Aquarian of Yahusha, or it says chapter 168 and 1. It says, a superstitious people are the Yahudim. They have faith, Amunah, they have borrowed from the idol worshippers of other lands, that at the end of every year they may heap all the sins upon the head of some man and set apart to bear their sins. It says the man becomes the scapegoat for the multitudes. And they believe that when they drive him forth into the wilds and into foreign lands, they are released from sin. So every spring before the feast, they chose a prisoner from the prisons of the land, and from a form, it says, and by a form their own, they fain would make him bear their sins away. Among the Yahudim prisoners in Jerusalem were 3 who were leaders of a vile, seditious band, who had engaged in thefts and murders and rapine, and had been sentenced to be crucified. Barabbas bar Jeziah was among the men who were to die, but he was rich, and he had bought of the priest the boon to be the scapegoat for the people at the coming feast, and he was anxiously in waiting for his hour to come. Now Pilate thought in turn this superstition to account to save the master. And so he went again before the Yahudim and said, "You men of Yasharal," because the goats had to be taken from Yasharal. One for Azazel, one for Yahuwah. Right? You men of Yasharal, according to this custom, I release to you today a prisoner who shall bear your sin away. So they're thinking that the person they sent out, who gonna bear the sin away, gonna take away their sin. Right? But let's see. It says, this man you drive into the wilds or into the foreign lands, and you have asked me to release Barabbas, who has been proven guilty of murder of a score of men. It says, now hear me, men, let Yahusha be released, and let Barabbas, pay this debt upon the cross. Then you can send this Yahusha to the wilds and hear no more of him. And it says, and at what the ruler said, the people were enraged, and they began to plot to tear the Roman palace down and to drive into exile Pilate and his household and his guards. When Pilate was assured that the civil war would follow if he heeded not the wishes of the mob, he took a bowl of water in the presence of the multitude, and he washed his hands and said, this man whom you accuse is the son of the Kadush, the most Kadush of God, and I proclaim my innocence. Because they're getting ready to send it out. But guess what? The person who sent out the goat to Azazel, what he's supposed to do? He was supposed to wash himself. Why? Because they're now clean now. Because they now wash myself. I'm innocent. And it says, and if you would shed his blood is on your hands and not on mine. And then the Yahudim exclaimed, and let his blood be on us, beyond our hands, and on our children's hands. And Pilate trembled like a leaf in fear. Oh, remember you start looking at Kaphar. One word for Kaph is a leaf. Is leaf. He said he trembled like a leaf. The thing was flowing in fear. Barabbas he released, and Yahusha stood forth before the mob. The ruler said, behold your king. You shall not do any work, Malakah, today. Behold your king. And would you put to death your king? Oh, you mean you're going to put to death your king? You're going to send him to put the scapegoat on too? At the same time? And he was anointed priest, HaKa'an? And? Is this the fast that I chose? To bring the poor into your house? So this is Luke 23:1. So this is the other account. It says, when the whole company of them arose and brought him to Pilate, and they began to accuse him, saying, we found this man misleading the nations and forbidding us to give tribute to Caesar. Isn't that what Azazel did? But he was doing it opposite. He was trying to get people, he was turning people away from Yahuwah, the king, to himself. But Yahushua like, nah, I'm trying to turn you back to Yahuwah. I'm trying to turn you back to the king, to the ruler of all things. Away from Azazel. Away from the teachings that were here before. But guess what? It says, and saying that he himself is Mashiach, a king. And Pilate, guess what? Guess what they just did? They said he himself saying he Mashiach and a king. Isn't that what they told Nehemiah, Nakamyah? They told him, said, you yourself going to build a wall, and you publishing it saying that you the king. And he said, you created that thing in your own mind. It's a lie. It's an evil plot. That's the same thing these people just did. It's a lie. They created it in their own mind. Every imagination and thought is on the evil continually, even their evil purpose and plan that they're doing right here. But guess what? Kaphar is here. Nuach found favor in the sight of Yahuwah. And Pilate asked him, are you the king of the Yahudim? And he answered him, you have said so, because he ain't saying it. You know why he ain't saying it? He said, you saying that. Let another man praise you and not your own mouth. The book of Tehillim 27. I ain't saying nothing. You said it. Then Pilate said to the chief priests and the crowds, I find no guilt in this man. But they were urgent, saying, he stirs up the people, teaching throughout all Judea, from Galilee even to this place. Then all of the beings and the people cry unto Yahuwah against the people that were teaching the fallen Malachi, the fallen angels. They cried to Yahuwah. If you go read first Enoch, they cried to him and said, they called us the air. They teaching these things on the earth. They cried to him. That's the same thing they're doing here. They crying to him for Caesar, not to Yahuwah. They crying to Caesar, but not to Yahuwah. And Pilate, and guess what he said? It says, and after exclaiming him before you, behold, I did not find this man guilty of any of the charges against him. Neither did Herod, for he sent him back to us. Look, nothing deserving death has been done by him. I will therefore punish and release him. Nothing been done. I'm innocent. But not Azazel. Azazel, he was guilty. All that stuff was on him. That scapegoat that they put it on, them people weren't guilty. They were sending out outside the camp. They were guilty. Children of Yasharal, Aaron, Moses, all of them, they were all guilty. Azazel was guilty. But this man, they throwing all the sin on, is innocent. He said, he's done by him. I will therefore punish and release him. But they all cried out together, away with this man, and release to us Barabbas, a man who has been thrown in prison for an insurrection started in the city, and for murder, even for murderers. Every imagination and thought was on the evil continually. But Kaphar is here. It says, Pilate addressed them once more, desiring to release Yahushua. But they kept shouting, crucify him, crucify him. The third time he said to them, why? What evil has he done? He ain't done nothing. What has that animal done? What has that goat done? What has that ox done? What they did? What that lamb do? What has he done? They ain't do nothing. I have found in him no guilt, deserving of death. He ain't do nothing wrong. I therefore punished and released him. But they were urgent, commanding with the loud cries that he should be crucified. And their voices prevailed. So Pilate decided that their demand should be granted. He released the man who had been thrown into prison for the insurrection and murder. Why? Because they paid him off. But we understand, even with all the people, he was going to release them and put it on Barabbas. But understand what happened. It was already predestinated. It says, from whom they asked, but they delivered Yahushua over to their will. Every imagination and courage and will is to do evil. Every imagination and thought is to do evil. That's all they were thinking about. That's all they could think about. Killing the animal, putting their sin on somebody else, putting their sin, all their stuff on somebody and sending them outside the camp. That's all they were thinking about. They ain't thinking about nothing else. So this is Psalms Talim 69 and 6. She says, let not those who hope in you be put to shame through me. Yahuwah all of hosts, let not those who seek you, and we talked about wisdom. He said, you seek it in love, right? It'll be found. Who seek you be brought to dishonor through me. O all of Yasharal, for it is for your sake that I have borne reproach. That goat, those goats that Azazel, he wasn't just bearing the reproach for just humans. He was bearing the reproach of beings, things that happened way before you was even created, before we even came out of the matrix of a woman. He said, for your sake I have borne reproach, that dishonor has covered my face. Kaphar. It's covered me. Yeah, dishonor. Because that's what Kaphar means. It means humiliated. It means humbled. It's covered my face. I have become a stranger to my brothers. Why? Why has he become a stranger to his brothers? Because they sending him outside the camp. It says, and a stranger to my mother's sons. The zeal of your house has consumed me, and the reproaches of those who reproach you have fallen on me. Mashiach, the goat. How you say, how the people say to people today, the goat. No, Yahushua Mashiach is the goat, whom they put the sin on, and they sent it out of the camp, and it was to take away their sin. But not only did this goat, that the sin they put on him take away their sin, it covered them. He put the reproach on them. It actually worked this time. The other times, he had to come in the form of a goat that was sent to Azazel in order to get them to stop sending the goat to Azazel. It says, when I wept and humbled my soul with fasting, there it is, Kaphar. Zoom, right? Zoom means to fast. I humbled my soul. I Kaphar my soul with fasting. It became my reproach. That's what this day represents. When one afflicts their soul, you're literally as he is. Every imagination and thought. You should, as opposed to look at this world, look at the sins of Yasharal, look at the sins of the people and the world, everything. You should be humbling your soul with fasting because of that. That's what it represents. So when I made sackcloth my clothing, I became a byword to them. I was humiliated. I am the talk of those who sit in the gate, and drunkards make song about me. They ain't thinking about no Kaphar, they ain't thinking about humility. They eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, right? They're not thinking about that. They're making songs. It ain't like, it ain't like a good song. Guess what it says? But as for me, my prayer is to you. That's what you do. People say, what is Kaphar for? I humble myself with fasting, and my prayer is to you, Yahuwah. Not to Caesar, not to Azazel, not to other beings. Guess what he says? At the acceptable time, O Yahuwah, in the abundance of your steadfast love, answer me in your saving faithfulness. Deliver me from sinking in the mire. Let me be delivered from my enemies and from the deep waters. Let not the flood sweep over me, or the deep swallow me up, or the pit close its mouth over me. Answer me, O Yahuwah, for your steadfast love is good. According to your abundant mercy, turn to me. Hide not your face from your servant, or I am in distress. Make haste to answer me. Draw near to my soul. People want to know what to pray. He's like, oh yeah, what am I supposed to say on the Kaphar? What am I supposed to say? Redeem me, ransom me because of my enemies. You know my reproach and my shame. That's what Kaphar means. Shame, dishonor. My foes are all known to you. Reproaches have broken my heart, crushed him. It's broken his heart. That's what this day represents. What do you mean? It's supposed to break that stony heart. You know, that stony mind that we got? That stony mind, that those evil, every thought and imagination, the evil continue, that stony, I'm going to take away that stony heart, that stony lab. I'm going to take that heart of stone, I'm going to give you a heart of flesh. Why? Because you know what? Just like Yeshayahu said, don't you care about your own flesh? He said, I got to give you a heart of flesh in order to do that. Heart of stone, man, bump the poor. Man, bump those who are naked and who need clothing. Man, forget them people. Man, my light gonna shine this noonday. Man, forget that junk. I don't care about them. I don't care about my neighbor. I don't care about humanity. I don't care about other human beings. I don't care that this world is all wicked. I ain't in control of that. You're right. I ain't care about it. But there's a certain type of mindset one has to have towards their fellow men. Because when you lose that about yourself, you'll turn into those same people out here. Every imagination and thought is only evil continually. And you won't find favor like Nuach. Because Nuach was covered. Kaphar. And it says, I looked with pity, but there was none for me. And he said, I looked for pity, but there was none. And for comforters, but I found none. They gave me poison for my food. And for my thirst, they gave me sour wine to drink. Right. So this is Matthew 26:45. Now in the 6th hour, there was darkness over the whole land until the 9th hour. And about the 9th hour, Yahushua cried out with a loud voice, saying, Ali, Ali, or Aliyah, Aliyah. Lama Sabachthani, that is, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? And some bystanders, hearing it, said, this man is calling for Elijah or Aliyah. And one of them at once ran and took a sponge and filled it with sour wine and put it on a reed and gave it to him to drink. But the other said, wait, let's see if Aliyah or Aliyah will save him. And Yahushua cried out again with a loud voice and yielded up the Ruach. So you see Yahushua cried out a loud voice saying, Ali, Ali, Aliyah, Aliyah, why has thou forsaken me? And then he cried out again. Why did he cry out twice? For the 2 goats. Remember, there were 2 goats they had to offer. They had one for Yahuwah and one for Azazel. They already put the sin, they released Barabbas and they put the sin on him. He already go for Azazel, but the goat had to be killed. Here go the goat being killed right here. And then the other goat was for Yahuwah. That's what he said, Ali, Ali, Aliyah, why has thou forsaken me? That was for Yahuwah. And the other one was for Azazel. This is Ukanah 19:3. And after this, Yahushua, knowing that all was finished, said, to fulfill the scripture, I thirst. A jar of sour wine stood there. So they put a sponge full of sour wine on a hyssop branch and held it held it to his mouth. When Yahushua had received the sour wine, he said, it is finished. And he bowed his head and gave up the ruach. Why? When he made Adam, what did he say? In 6 days he labored, in 7 he rest, right? But he said he celebrated, right? He celebrated. He said it was an accomplishment. This is an accomplishment right here. He's like, I get the rest from all my labors. And the Elohim said, Yahuwah and his Elohim said, let us make man in our own image and our own likeness. He's like, man, it's over with. I'm finally done with this. I can celebrate. Is not wine the mirror to make one glad? What is man's life without wine? He's like, man, this is done. I'm finished. Behold your high priest. Your Kaphar. How you say? How they say the Kaphar? Behold your king. You gonna kill your king? Malachi? Do no work. You gonna kill your king and your heart? Man. So this is Truth of the Nazarenes, 47, 2-3. It said, take heed that you obey from the heart and in the ruach of love all the commandments which are given you. It has been written that thou shalt not kill. But I say to you, if any hate or desire to slay, they have broken the law. Yea, if they cause hurt or torture to any innocent creature, they are guilty. What evil has he done? I see nothing wrong. What has he done? He has no reason to be put to death. Yea, if they cause hurt or torture to any innocent creature, they are guilty. But if they kill to put an end to the suffering which cannot be healed, they are not guilty if they do it quickly and with much mercy. They beat Yahusha from all night, all the way up until they tortured him all the way to the ninth hour of the day. They didn't do it quickly. That man was suffering up there for a long time. And amazingly, when you beat somebody over the head to reed, like they did, they beat him with a reed and they smote him in the face, they plucked out his beard. Guess what happens? You bleeding. So he got anointed by a priest, right? He got anointed to be a priest in the house with a woman with an alabaster bottle, and he was poor. And then he went to somebody's house, right? That wasn't his own. And he was anointed high priest. And then he wasn't even clean when he went up there to offer up, for the atonement for the people. He wasn't even clean. He was full of blood and torture and crown of thorns and nails in his hand. And he went into the veil and he went in there and he offered like that. And guess what happens when you offer like that? Yahuwah said you die. He said you die. You ain't gonna live. And he didn't. He did exactly what he was supposed to do. So now Leviticus 16, the linen garments, they gotta have the linen garments, right? He said he gotta have linen garments on, right? Yeah. They said he had to have linen garments on. And he said he gotta leave it in the place where he did the offering at. That's where he gotta leave it at. So Yuchanan 20 or John 23. So Kaphar went out with the other disciples, and they were going toward the tomb. Both of them were running together, but the other disciples outran Peter, and they reached the tomb first. And stooping in, he saw the linen clothes lying there. But he did not go in. And Simon Kaphar came, following him, and went into the tomb. And he saw the linen clothes lying there, and the face of the cloth which had been on Yahusha's head, not lying with the linen cloths, but folded it up in its place. Folded up in a place by itself. He had to leave the evidence that he finished the offering of Kaphar. Because after he was finished, he ain't finished it to the third day. Like they had to wait till he come out. Then he would leave the garments there. So on the third day, when he arrived, he rose on the third day after he finished. And then he left the linen garments in the tomb where nobody else is laid. And he was finished with it. He was the Kaphar, or the atonement for the people. He finished it. So Hebrews 5:1. For every high priest chosen from among men is appointed to act on behalf of men in relation to Yahuwah, to offer gifts and sacrifices for sins. He can deal gently with the ignorant and wayward, since he himself is beset with weakness. Because of this, he is obligated to offer sacrifice for his own sins, just as he does for those of the people, because he was weak too. And no one takes this honor for himself, but only when called by Yahuwah, just as Aaron was. So also Mashiach did not exalt himself to be made a high priest, Kahan. Who was the high priest during his time? You never went out, everybody who's just talking about, I'm the high priest, I'm the high priest. He never, you see him walk around there? But you had that one person, Caiaphas, on him, the high priest during that time. He said it's expedient that one die for us, for all the people. He ready to do that little offering to the little Azazel. He ready to get that thing over with. Well, it's expedient, boy. You saw how much sin we doing over here? He like, man, we committing a lot of sin, even myself. He like, it's expedient. Yeah, Husha in the house. Lady just put an alabaster box, anointed him in the house. Some lady, random person. He's like, man, this is waste. What this stuff gonna do for you? What this king gonna do for us? What this high Kahan, this bootleg high Kahan that we just made in this house of this leper gonna do? That's basically what it was. Like they say, a bootleg high Kahan inside of a leper house. They just anointed king by a woman. At all, you think about that. You just anointed somebody with a woman. You getting a leper house, and you saying, man, that's all opposite of everything people do. And then he says, so also Mashiach did not exalt himself to be made high priest, but was appointed by him who said, you are my son. Today I have begotten you. Who was up there? Everybody wasn't up there. But it was somebody up there. It was somebody up there. And it says, you begotten you. And he says in another place, you are a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek, or Melchizedek. So when you start seeing this return back to the beginning, or how it was before Jacob's sons, before Yasharal, you're starting to see the transformation of the priesthood and how it was before, right? Because there wasn't no rod that budded. So this is Hebrews 7:11. So now if perfection had been attainable through the Levitical priesthood, for under it the people received the law, what further need would there have been for another priest to arise after the order of Melchizedek, rather than one named after the order of Aaron? For when there is a charge in the priesthood, there is necessity a change in the law as well. For the one of whom these things are spoken belonged to another tribe, from which no one has ever served at the altar. For it is evident that our master Adon was descended from Yehuda. And in this becomes even more evident when another priest arises in the likeness of Melchizedek, who has become priest not on the basis of a legal requirement concerning bodily descent from the lineage of Aaron and Aharon and his sons in Levi, but by the power of an indestructible life. It was innocent. For it is witness of him. You are a priest forever, after the order of Melchizedek. For on the other hand, a former commandment is set aside because of its weakness and uselessness. For the law made nothing perfect. But on the other hand, a better hope is introduced, through which we draw near to Yahuwah. And it was not without an oath, for those who formerly became priests were made such without an oath. But this one was made a priest with an oath by the one who said to them, Yahuwah has sworn and will not change his mind. You know how you say, I'm Yahuwah, I change not. Therefore the sons of Yaakov are not consumed, right? You know why you're not consumed by fire yet? You know why we're not consumed by fire yet? You are a priest forever. This makes Yahusha the grantor of a better covenant. Oh, you mean Nuach? I'm going to establish my covenant with you. Kaphar. Oh, you were humble. You were humiliated. You were sorry. You covered. You Kaphar. I'm going to do it with you. You're going to be better than Adam. Oh, you mean the first Adam? You're going to be better than that one. Oh, the second one. This is Shemuth, Exodus 20:21. Now when all the people saw the thundering and flashing and lightning and the sounds of the trumpet and the mountains smoking and the people were afraid and trembled, they stood afar off and said, Mashah, you speak with us and we will listen. But let not Yahuwah... Mashah said to the people, do not fear, for all has come to test you, that the fear of him may be before you. You mean, the fear of Yahuwah is the beginning of wisdom and knowledge and understanding. Yeah, that's the beginning. He said, your fear be upon him. It says that you may not sin. You may not sin. The people stood far off, while Mashah drew near to the thick darkness, where all was, Yahuwah was. And Yahuwah said to Mashah, thus you shall say to the people of Yasharal, you have seen for yourselves that I have talked with you from Shamayim. And he says, you should not make gods of silver to be like me, nor shall you make yourselves gods of gold. And people talking about what the archons for. They created these things, control the people from the beginning, as it is this day. And guess what it says? It says, an altar of the earth you shall make for me, and sacrifice in it your burnt offerings and your peace offerings, your sheep and your oxen. It says, in every place where I cause my name to be remembered, I will come to you and bless you. And if you make an altar of stone, you shall not build it of hewn stone, for it, if you wield your tools on it, you profane it. And you shall not go up by steps to my altar, that your nakedness be not exposed. So when you start looking at these things, we look at how they rejected Yahuwah's voice and said, Mashah, you speak with us. And then you saying Yahuwah said to Mashah. Then it says Yahuwah said to make oxen and kill sheep and oxen and go and offer your burnt offerings and your peace offerings. And it said Yahuwah said that. So Galatians 1:6, it says, I am astonished that you are so quickly deserting him who called you into the grace of Mashiach, turning you to a different truth. Not that there is another, but there are some who trouble you and want to distort the truth of Mashiach. But even if we or an angel, a malak from Shamayim, preach to you a truth contrary to the one we preach, to you let him be accursed. Azazel, Shemjaza, Mustama. It says, today teaching still here. People got their seed. That seed was sown in the people's mind. How you think? Oh, how did Ham come know about Ra? Oh, let me guess. The Mizraim just came up with that. Oh, yeah. How he learned about it? He got on the boat. He got on the ship. Every imagination and thought was only evil continually. Because when he got off the boat, what he was doing? Evil. Evil. After he got off Nuach ship, people wonder why Nuach drinking wine. I say, man, you have no idea why he was drinking wine. Man, trying to forget all that stuff that happened. And he said he woke from his wine. He said, I knew what Ham did, because he already knew that every imagination and thought was only evil continually in him, in come. He already knew it. He said, let him be a curse. He still got teachings of Azazel on his head. That's why he went to his, never mind. That's why he went to his father's mother. Well, father's wife. That's why he went in there and he did what he did. He saw his father's nakedness. That's why he did it. His other brothers walked backward because every imagination and thought in them made evil continually, like him, like him. It says, as we have said before, so now I say to you, say again. So he's saying it again. If anyone preaching to you a truth contrary to the one you receive, let him be accursed. He's trying to let people know. For I am now seeking the approval of man or of all Yahuwah. Or am I trying to please man? I'm not trying to please you. If I were still trying to please man, I would not be a servant of Mashiach. Servant of Mashiach going to teach people to do contrary to what Yahuwah say. Servant of Mashiach going to tell people to eat flesh. When the same word Yahushua Mashiach told Nuach to build an ark. Oh, you mean Kaphar. And put all the animals in there and your wives and your children and bring the food. Right? So we start looking at these aspects. We say, hey, you know, are people paying attention? Some Jazet and Azazel were on the earth in those days. So this is Jeremiah 7:20. Therefore, thus saith Yahuwah, oh, behold, my anger and my wrath will be poured out on this place. There we go. Upon man and beast, upon trees of the field, and upon fruits of the ground, it will not burn, it will not be quenched. What does that sound like? Bereshith, when Yahuwah was grieved, when he saw all the evil in man's heart was on the evil continually, he was going to kill the animals and the man. It's the same thing. It's the same exact thing. And get what he says. Thus says Yahuwah of hosts, the all of Yasharal, add your burnt offerings to your sacrifices and eat flesh. It's the same thing they were doing. Why would he want to kill man and beasts and trees and everything? Why? Because why would he want to do that? They weren't eating the produce because, you know, you read, remember in the Aramaic Targums, he said you had unfruitful trees used for wood and burning. But he said, I'm going to kill beasts, man, trees, fruit. He said he's going to destroy it all. Why? Because they were going contrary to what he said in the beginning. That's the only reason he's doing it. Why would Yahuwah destroy his creation? There's only one reason why Yahuwah going to destroy his creation. Because of their thoughts, imaginations, their purpose, their memory. That's the only reason he's going to do it. Their mind directs the bodies. You get in the mind, it directs the body. The body follows the mind. He said, we have the mind of Mashiach. You should. Because the mind of Mashiach would not do that. The things that people do, right? And it said, well, guess what he says? He says, it will burn and not be quenched. He's mad. He said, thus saith Yahuwah of hosts, the all of Yasharal, add your burnt offerings and your sacrifices and eat flesh. For in the day that I brought them out of the land of Mizraim, I did not speak to your fathers or command them concerning burnt offerings and sacrifices. So Mashah got that from another being. He got it from an angel, a Malaki. He got that information from another Ruach flying around here, another spirit or a demon flying around teaching stuff. That can enter inside people and in your mind and teach you stuff. You can get that. But this command I gave them, obey my voice. Oh, not Yahuwah speak with us. Mashah, you speak with us. And I will be your all, and you shall be my people, and walk in all the ways that I command you, that it may be well with you. But they did not obey and incline their ear. Man, not Yahuwah speak with us. It says, but walked in their own counsel, in the stubbornness of their own evil minds. Every imagination and thought was only evil continually. Same thing as it was in the beginning. But Nuach found Kaphar. It was grace. Oh, he had the Kaphar for the people. Aaron was going to do the atonement for the people, but no. Yahushua was going to do the atonement, but he wasn't going to be all spiffy clean like Aaron was, and he died. He put on the goat, one for Yahuwah and one for the Azazel. Yahuwah, Aliyah, why is thou forsaking me? One for Yahuwah and one for Azazel. Because people keep forgetting. People keep forgetting. And it says that it may be well with you, but they did not obey their voice. They did not obey or incline their ear, but walked in their own counsel and the stubbornness of their evil hearts, and they went backward and not forward. It went back to that same behavior that I was trying to get out of them. I keep trying to do it. Psalms 51 and 12. Restore to me the joy of your salvation. Uphold me in the willing ruach. Then I will teach transgressors your ways, and sinners will return to you. Deliver me from blood guiltness. O Yahuwah, my salvation. Why? Because every time they sinned, they had to bring some animal. They had to kill something. They had to put it on innocent creatures. Man, you blood guilt. You know how much blood is shed? Not just humans, animals as well. And it says, and my tongue will sing aloud of all your righteousness. You will open my lips, and my mouth will declare your praise. For you will not delight in sacrifices, or I will give it. You will not be pleased with burnt offerings. The sacrifice of all Yahuwah are a broken spirit, a broken and contrite heart. You will not despise. Reproaches have broken my heart. That's why he went to the art. That's why he was able to offer his gift, and it was accepted, even though he was dirty, beat up, wasn't clean. Definitely wasn't clean like Aaron, Harun, washing their skin, all that. He wasn't that had everything perfect on the outside. All the stuff that they had to do. He said, reproaches have broken my heart. You know what, Yahushua Mashiach? Being that you Kaphar, I'll accept yours. Being that you had that type of heart for people that needed to be covered with some clothing, because that's what we needed. We needed a covering. We needed to be brought into the ark, into the house, and we needed some food to the hungry. He gave us all that. He said, if you don't eat my flesh and drink my blood, you have no life in you. He said, I gave you all that. Is this not a flesh that I chose? Fast that I chose? He said that he afflicted himself with fasting. He said, I thirst. He was up there fasting the whole time. And then what did he say? He said, reproaches have broken my heart. I did good for these people, and they give me evil. Because every imagination and thought in their mind is only evil continually. That's the only reason they do it. Why would you give evil for somebody to do good to you? So this is 2 Enoch 45. It says, Elohim points out, and Yahuwah Elohim points out that he does not want from people sacrifices and burnt offerings, but hearts that are pure and crushed. Oh, reproaches have broken my heart. I want Kaphar. So if anyone is prompt in performing a good oblation in front of the face of Yahuwah, then Yahuwah will be prompt to accept it on his account, that he will not perform righteous judgment for him. If anyone makes lamps numerous in front of the face of Yahuwah, then Yahuwah will make his treasure stones numerous in the highest kingdom. Does Yahuwah demand bread or lamps or sheep or oxen or any kind of sacrifice at all? That is nothing but Yahuwah demands pure hearts. And by means of all things, he tests people's hearts. That's all he does. He's testing people's mind. He said, pure heart. Bara balei tahor lab, kadashar balei hayashar ruach. Create in me a clean heart, renewing me a right spirit, a tahor heart, a pure heart. You will not despise that. Reproaches have broken my heart. So this is Daniel 9:27. And he shall make strong a covenant with many for 1 week. Oh, you mean I'm going to establish my covenant with you, Nuab? Kaphar. It says, and for a half of a week he shall put an end to the sacrifices and offerings. It's finished. It is done. So Tehillim 50 and 9 through 13 says, I will not accept a bull from your house or goats from your foes. Aaron, remember? That's what he was doing. For himself and for his house and for the people. It says, for every beast of the forest is mine. What you doing? The cattle on 1,000 hills. I know all the birds of the hills. And all that moves in the field are mine. If I were hungry, I would not tell you, for the world and its fullness are mine. Why would he not tell you? I'm hungry. Nah, every imagination and thought is evil continually. Your courage to do evil, your purpose to do evil, your mind is to do evil. Your imagination do evil, your memory do evil, your intentions do evil, everything evil. Why would I tell you I'm hungry? You would like, I ain't telling you. He said, do I eat flesh of bulls and drink the blood of goats? Man, I'm not telling y'all I'm hungry no more. A bunch of evil people, because the only thing they're going to be able to offer is that. He says, offer to Yahuwah Elohim a sacrifice of thanksgiving and perform your vows to the Most High and call upon me in the day of trouble, and I will deliver you, and you shall glorify Kabod me. So Romans 15 and 1. It says, we who are strong have an obligation to bear the failings of the weak and not to please ourselves. That's why Shaul, Paul was writing, he says, I'm not here to please man. I'm here to please Yahuwah. Right? I will not be a servant of Mashiach. Right? I'm not. He said, I'm trying to tell you the truth. He says, let each of us please his neighbor for his good, to build him up. For Mashiach did not please himself, but as it is written, the reproaches of those who reproach you fell on me. Yeah. In order for him to do all of that, even representing Azazel, trying to get people away from Azazel, and the teachings of Azazel, and the things that people were doing. Why are he doing all that? To get all the eyes on him, not on Aaron, not on Azazel, not on Mashal, not on the things of the past. He's trying to get everybody focused on him and knowing if you just, he said, obey, or how you say, walk with me. That's basically it. Right. Walk with me. Don't leave the house without me. And it says, for Mashiach did not please himself, but as is written, the reproach of those who reproach thee fell on me. For whatever was written in the former days was written for our instruction. Enoch, Leviticus, Yakra, Bereshith, Genesis, Psalms, Tehillim, Odes, Kukma, Shlish, Shaluma, Songs of Solomon, all that. That through endurance and through encouragement of the scriptures we might have hope. He did a lot on this day. Kaphar, right? Yehukanan 5:19. So Yahusha said to them, truly, truly, I say to you, the Son can do nothing of his own accord, but only what he sees the Father doing. For whatsoever the Father does, the Son does likewise. For the Father loves the Son and shows him all that he himself is doing. Shall I eat flesh? If I were hungry, I'm not telling you. I do everything that my Father do. So my Father don't do it, I don't do it. If my Father tells me to rest on the shore, I rest. It is finished. I'm done. It's a celebration. It's an accomplishment. 6 days you labor, and the 7th you rest. That's what Yahushua did. He did a lot for those 6 hours on the cross, on the stake, on totality. So this is the truth of the Nazarenes, truth of the Chudash 12, lection 42, 4 through 7. For have you not read that all Yahuwah who made them at the beginning made them male and female? We read that. And said, for this cause shall a man leave father and mother, and shall cleave to his wife or her husband, and they shall be one flesh. Wherefore they are no more twain, but one flesh. What therefore all has joined together, let no man put asunder. They said unto him, why did Mashiach then command to give a writing of divorcement? He saith unto them, Mashiach, because of the hardness of your hearts, suffer you to put away your wives, even as he permitted you to eat flesh, for many causes. But from the beginning, it wasn't so. Yirmiyahu told you, David told you, Enoch told you, even Nuach, even Yahuwah himself, even the Elohims whom work with him. You know how many witnesses? People say, oh, that's not true. So truth of the Chudash 12, lection 38. And some of the disciples came to him of a certain Egyptian, a son of Belial, who taught that it was lawful to torment animals. Well, we just read it. He said, unless the animal is like suffering, you end it quickly. He said, man, it's lawful to torment them. You mean like drain the blood, burn it on fire, do all that's torment. Aaron, Aharon, listening to other beings, listening to Azazel, listening to other beings. And it says, if their suffering brought any profit to men. So he's saying torment animals if it brought profit. Just start tormenting them. Just like they do with these stores, just like they do with these fast food restaurants, just like they do everywhere you see. They torment these animals to do what? They create, clone them, make them, kill them. They born to die. Sound familiar? Born to die. And it says, and Yahushua said unto them, verily I say unto you, they who partake of the benefits which are gotten by wronging one of Yahuwah's creatures cannot be righteous. Nor can they touch Chudash things or teach the mysteries of the kingdom, whose hands are stained with blood. That's why, what did David say? Deliver my hand from blood guiltness. He said, create in me a clean heart, renewing me the right ruach, right? And then he said, I will teach. He said, I can't even teach this stuff. I can't even tell nobody. If I'm doing the things, like he says, against anything that Yahuwah has made, right? The people saying, why he say, love your neighbors, you love yourself. He said, do unto others, you have them do unto you. People don't understand why he's saying that. Because he said, he that knoweth to do good and doeth it not, to him it is sin. Because every imagination, every thought is supposed to be good continually, not evil. He says, whose hands are stained with blood, and whose mouth, he says, can they even touch the Chudash things or teach the mysteries of the kingdom? Whose hands are stained with blood, and whose mouths are defiled with flesh. Add to your sacrifice and eat flesh. It says, all giveth and grants the fruits of the earth for food. And for the righteous man or woman, truly there is no other lawful sustenance for the body. So we're now moving and coming to the end of this. I know it's long, but when we start looking at the understanding, to understand it, and there's many more things to know. Many more. His understanding is infinite. He's unsearchable. Like, it's so many things. But here's Hebrews 10:1. It says, for since the law had a shadow of good things to come, instead of the true form of these realities, it can never, by the same sacrifices that are continually offering every year, make perfect those who draw near. It can't. Otherwise would they have not ceased to be offered, since the worshippers, having been once cleansed, like today is Kaphar. Like if you had a blood boat, you had 2 goats and an ox and all these things, and you offered it up, yeah, it feel good for a moment. Woo! woo, yeah, I'm cleansed, right? But then the next day, it says, having once cleansed would no longer have any conscience of sins. Like, you shouldn't have none. No conscience of it. But in these sacrifices, there is a reminder of sins every year. Boy, you know what I did? Boy, I got to offer it again. I got to offer it again. I got to offer it again, right? For it is impossible for the blood of bulls and goats to take away sins. Consequently, when Mashiach came into the world, he said, sacrifices and offerings you have not desired. Huh? That's what he said. When he came into the world, he said, sacrifices and offerings you have not desired, but a body you have prepared for me. In burnt offerings and sin offerings you have taken no pleasure. Then I said, behold, I come to do your will, O Yahuwah, as it is written of me in the scroll of the book. When he said above, you have neither desired nor taken pleasure in sacrifices and offerings and burnt offerings and sin offerings. These are offered according to the law. Then he added, behold, I have come to do your will. He does away with the first in order to establish the second. Isn't that what Yahuwah did in the beginning? He said, man, I'm sorry that I made man on the earth, Kaphar. With you, Nuak, I'm going to establish this covenant. It says, and by that will he, and he said, and by that we will, and well, it says, and by that will we have been sanctified through the offering of the body of Yahushua Mashiach once and for all. Once and for all. Just one time. Akkad, right? It says, and every priest stands daily at his service, offering repeatedly the same sacrifices. During this time, they still were doing it. Which can never take away sins. But when Mashiach had offered for all time a single sacrifice for sins, he sat down at the right hand of Yahuwah, Elohim, waiting from that time until his enemies should be made his footstool for his feet. Why? Because they need all become under the word of Mashiach. Sacrifices and offerings, as it was in the beginning, so shall it be. For by a single offering he made perfect, he has perfected for all time those who are being sanctified. That's what he has done. Kaphar. He atoned. So this is Psalms 40, 5 through 8. It says, Baraka is the man who makes Yahuwah his trust. He said, they that understand the trust in Yahuwah shall understand the truth. Who does not turn to the proud, to those who go astray after a lie, like Mashah and all them. Any other being, any of the Malaki who teach any other truth, let them be accursed. Azazel, Shemjaza, all these beings. He said, don't go after a lie. You have multiplied, O Yahuwah Ma'al, your wondrous deeds and your thoughts toward us. None can compare with you. Man, who can do that? You can pull up. Hey, you can pull up Osiris. You can pull up Ra. Hey, you can pull up Thoth and Tahuti, and you can pull up Goddess Diana and Dagon. You can put them up against these deities, the kings and rulers. You can put them up. Man, who can compare to Yahuwah? Who can compare to Yad, Ha, U, Ah? The 26. Who can compare to him? I will proclaim and tell of them. Yet they are more than can be told. His understanding is unsearchable. As Yeshua wrote, it's unsearchable. It's infinite. In sacrifice and offerings, you have no delight. You have not delighted. Man, he ain't delighted since Bereshit, since the first person did it. He never wanted no burnt offerings and sacrifice, burning animals on the altar. Hard-hearted Cain. He wanted somebody who gonna offer things a pure heart and no guile, like Abel. But you have given me an open ear. Burnt offerings and sin offerings you have not required. Then I said, behold, I come in the scroll of your book. It is written of me. I delight to do your will. O my all, your Torah is within my mind, my heart. Oh, you mean my heart, his heart. That's why he ain't do it. That's why he was able to do it. He said, I'm going to make a new covenant with the house of Yasharal. Not the old one, but a new one. I'm going to put my Torah in their mind and write it on their hearts. So you can be just like Yahushua, his son, Yahushua Mashiach. He said, no man, no longer would it be like, yeah, you know, Yahuwah. He said, man, no, man, you don't know how to do that no more. He said, for all don't know me. When he said all, what does all mean? That means everybody, from the least to the greatest. This is Psalm 35 and 12. It says, they repay me evil for good. My soul is bereaved. But I, when they were sick, we were sick. People have no idea how sick is your mind? Like, every imagination and thought is evil continually. He said, when they were sick, I wore sackcloth. Oh, you mean I fasted? I fasted. I afflicted myself with fasting. Don't you care about your own flesh? Bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh, she shall be called Yasharal, Yahuda, or Isha, woman. He said, I afflicted myself with fasting. I prayed with my head bowed to my chest. That's exactly what, that's what it means. Kaphar means to bow the head, to stoop down, right? Amazingly, when Yahushua cried out the last breath, what did he do? He bowed his head. He bowed his head. Kaphar. That's what he did. He bowed his head. I went about as though I grieved for my friend or my brother, as one who laments for his mother. I bowed in mourning. He said, my own mother's sons, they despise me. But he said, when y'all was sick in y'all head, in y'all mind, man, I humbled myself with fasting. I kafared for you. I atoned for you. That's what it said in Psalm 69. He said, man, my mother's sons, they despise me. So this is your Ukinan 10 and 10. It says, the thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it more abundantly. Guess what he says? I am the good shepherd. Oh, you mean the good teacher? With wisdom and understanding. He says, learn. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd laid down his life for the sheep. It says, he who is a hired hand and not a shepherd, who does not own the sheep, sees the wolf coming and leaves the sheep and flees, and the wolf snatches them and scatters them. He flees because he is a hired hand and cares nothing for the sheep. Oh, you mean you don't care about your own flesh? Is this not a fast that I chose? To clothe the naked? To bring the poor into your house? To give feed the hungry? He said, I am the good shepherd. I know my own, and my own know me. Just as the Abba knows me, and I know the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. And I have other sheep that I have not of this fold, I must bring them also, and they will listen to my voice. So there will be one flock and one shepherd. For this reason the Father loves me, because I lay down my life that I may take it up again. Remember, he told them, whom do you see? I am he. I'm the goat. I'm the sacrifice. I'm the lamb. Maybe he was doing kafar and Pesach at the same time. And tabernacles. And he was doing first fruit all at the same time. People say, how can you do all that in one little thing, one little setting, boy? I said, man, you have no idea. See, one day with Yahushua, man, is like one day with Yahushua is like 1 year on earth. But he'll do all the whole sacrifices in 1 year. In 1 day. He'll do everything. It says, guess what he says? It says, I must bring them also, and they will listen to my voice. And there will be one flock and one shepherd. Oh, you mean just like it was in the beginning? A cod. Just one. That's why he said, if anybody don't afflict themselves, you're going to be cut off. Why? Because he's like, you know why? He's like, why? Because we all one. There's going to be one flock, one shepherd, one flock. You probably got to do it all, because if you don't do it, then every imagination and thought going to be evil continually. It's all you're going to be doing about is evil. It says, for this reason the Father loves me, because I lay down my life that I might take it up again. That's what happens when you Kaphar. You're laying down your life, because you're not putting nothing in your body. You ain't doing nothing. Only thing you're doing is afflicting your mind and your thoughts and your emotions and your passions and who you are. He said covering. Not only for yourself, but for others. For your house, for your others, for your house, and for other people, and for all the people around the world. Right? It says, no one takes it from me, but I lay it down of my own accord. So are we doing this because somebody's forcing you to do this? No. You're doing it because you're laying it down. You're doing it because you're laying down your life. That's why you're doing it. And guess what it says? I have authority to lay it down. That's what you have authority to do. You can do that. And I have authority to take it up again. What are you going to do after when the sun goes down? You have authority to take it up again. You have authority to take up your life again. People say, I ain't got no power. No, that's what you have authority to do. This charge I received from our Abba. Let us make man in our own image and our own likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, fowls of the air, every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth. For as he is, people. 1 Peter 3:18. For Mashiach also suffered once for sins, the righteous for the unrighteous, that he might bring us to Yahuwah Elohim, being put to death in the flesh, but made alive in the Ruach, in which he went and proclaimed to the spirits in prison, because they formerly did not obey, when Yahuwah's patience waited in the days of Nuach. So now you see, he went down to the spirits in prison, to the other world, to talk to the people who were disobedient before the flood, before Nuach went into the ark. You know those people where every imagination and thought were evil continually? Not only he did it in that world, but he did it for us, because that's what we were. And that's us today. He said, we in prison? Yeah, you're in prison. When you still have every imagination and thought is evil continually, you're in prison. You guys says, because they formerly did not obey, when Yahuwah's patience waited in the days of Nuach, because it was 120 years. They had a whole long time to repent. While the ark was being prepared. The ark is being prepared right now. It says, in which a few, that is 8 persons, were brought safely through water. So now you can see how hard-hearted these people were. Now you see how hard-hearted these people were. He said, oh, you hard-hearted people, like Ezekiel says, like Enoch says, you hard-hearted people, you haven't obeyed anything I said from the beginning. Stony heart. And it says, guess what? It says, so basically, so when we look at this morning, is a resemblance of atonement. You're remembering some things. Because we lay down our life as a sacrifice. In our atonement, when we afflict ourselves, we are like him on this day. You're just like him. And this is something, when you do this to this is exactly who you're like. It says, first Aleph Yuchanan 4:17. By this is the love perfected with us, so that we may have confidence for the day of judgment. Because as he is, so are we in this world. So are we. So are we. So this is Exodus 29:31-44. It says, you shall take the ram of the ordination and boil its flesh in the Kiddush place, and Aaron and his sons shall eat the flesh of the ram, and the bread that is in the basket in the entrance of the tent meeting. They shall eat those things which atonement was made at their ordination and consecration, but an outsider shall not eat of them. Right? Some people take this and be like, oh man, y'all can't even do it, right? But you look at all these aspects. It says, because they are Kiddush. And if any of the flesh of the ordination of the bread remain until the morning, then you shall burn the remainder with fire. It shall be not eaten, because it is Kiddush. Thus you shall do to Aaron and to his sons according to all that I have commanded you. Through 7 days shall you ordain them, and every day you shall offer a bull as a sin offering for an atonement. Also, you shall purify the altar when you make an atonement for it, and you shall anoint it and consecrate it. 7 days you shall make an atonement for the altar and consecrate it, and the altar shall be most Kiddush. Whatever touches the altar shall be Kiddush. So you can see that this atonement, he said, this is something, an offering that one can do every single day. Yahushua said, he said, you shall ordination, he said, the bread remain until the morning. Yahushua said, I am the bread of life, which came down from Shby'ay. We know he took away sin. We know he took away animal sacrifices. He said, I'm the bread which came down from Shby'ay. He said, you shall purify the altar every day. Every day. An offering for an atonement. Verse 38 says, now this is what you shall offer on the altar: 2 lambs, a year old, by day regularly. So when we look at that, behold the Lamb of Yahuwah who took away the sin of the world. When one do this day by day, you're remembering his death and suffering till he comes. You're remembering every single day that the lamb was offered. You're remembering every day that the bread shall remain until the morning. You should eat your bread. You should remember that the lamb has taken away the sin every single day. And every single day, one should remember these things. When shall you do it? 1 lamb you shall offer in the morning time. And the other lamb you shall offer at twilight, in the evening time. It should be continually on your mind. In morning time, evening time, in the Bakar, and at twilight. And with the first and with the first lamb, a 10th measure of the fire and fine flour, and mingled with flour and hin beaten oil, and the 4th of a hin of a wine for a drink offering. Why? Because when he got to the last point, he said that he was thirsty, and they gave him wine. You're remembering his death and suffering every single day before he comes. You're remembering that he set you free. He released you. You say, why should I keep Kaphar? Why should I keep atonement? Because it keeps you in remembrance of him. Because when you start to neglect it and you start to throw it away, then you forget about him. Am I right? People saying, oh no, I ain't gonna forget. I said, don't keep it then. And just keep going. Don't remember it. And you'll find out, man, I forgot all that. Man, I don't even remember that stuff. Because you used to be saying, oh man, I don't know. What is that talking about? And you're going to try to, how you say, get the wheels turning again and try to get back on track. But he says, the other lamb, it says wine for a drink offering. The other lamb ye shall offer at twilight, and shall offer it with a grain offering and its drink offering, and as in the morning, for a pleasing aroma. A food offering to Yahuwah. It shall be a regular burnt offering throughout your generations at the entrance of the tent meeting. Remember, wisdom is at the tent doors. He said, if you despise wisdom and nurture, he said, you are miserable. He said, Mashiach be not raised, we are all men most miserable, but he's risen. He said, we were at the tent doors. Enter the tent meeting. He said, before you, it says, where I will meet with you and speak to you there. So in the morning, evening, you remember the Mashiach. So in the morning time, people say, are you listening? In the evening time, are you listening? People say, why I need to hear the wind blowing against the trees and things? Because. Why I need to be outside? Because these are the times he speaks. He said, I'll meet with you there. He says, therefore I will meet with the people of Yasharal, and it shall be sanctified for my kabod. I will consecrate the tent of meeting and the altar. This is Peter 1 and 22. First Kaf. Having purified your souls in obedience to the truth, for sincere family or brotherly love, brotherly love, love one earnestly with a pure heart. Isn't that what Enoch said? But Yahuwah desires a pure heart. He never required animal sacrifice and burnt offerings, but purity of heart. It says, since you have been born again, I'm going to establish this covenant with you. Nuach. Not with perishable seeds, but imperishable, through the living and abiding word of Yahuwah. By his word. People say, what do you mean his word? Is living and active. So this is 1 Corinthians 15:29. It says, otherwise, what do people mean by being immersed on behalf of the dead? If the dead be not raised at all, why are people immersed on their behalf? Why are we in danger every hour? I protest, brothers, by my pride in you, which I have in Mashiach Yahushua, our Adon, our master, I die every day, morning and evening. You know how you say? Morning time, evening time. He said, I die every day. It's a daily sacrifice. It's a daily thing for me. Then he says, what do I gain if, humanly speaking, I fought with beasts at Ephesus? If the dead are not raised, let us eat and drink, for tomorrow we die. He said, who just said in Psalm 69? He said, drunk people make songs about me. He said, do not be deceived. Bad company ruins good morals. Wake up from your drunken stupor, as is right, and do not go on sinning, for some have no knowledge of Yahuwah. I say this to your shame. Kaphar. This is Hebrews 13 and 8. Yahushua Mashiach is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Do not be led away by diverse, it says, strange teachings, for it is good for the heart to be strengthened by Khan and grace, not by foods which have not benefited those who devoted to them. We have an altar from which those who serve the tent have no right to eat. Who have no right to eat? They can't. Who served the tent currently during this time? I'll let you be the judge of that. It says, for the bodies of those animals whose blood is brought into the Kadush place by the high priest as a sacrifice for sin are burned outside the camp. Oh, you mean like the two goats, one for Yahuwah, one for the scapegoat, one for Azazel. You mean like those guys? You know, the ones outside the camp. So Yahushua also suffered outside the gate in order to sanctify the people through his own blood. Yeah, cast all them sins, throw it on Azazel, throw it on that goat and send it to Azazel. Put it all of it and write it on Azazel, his guilt on Azazel. Yeah, the reproach of them have broke my heart. All the sin, all the sacrifice. Yeah, put it all on me. all the sin of all the people in the whole world. Just put it all on me. It says, therefore, let us go to him outside the camp. Let us go to him outside the camp and bear the reproach he endured. You mean bear the reproach? The reproaches then, the reproach thee fell on me. So he's saying, you do the same thing. For here we have no lasting city. I mean, they always throwing it outside the camp and sending us out. Throwing their sin on us. He said, bear the reproach when they throw you, do that. He says, but we seek a city that is to come. During this time, they had you start looking at the aspects of what they were dealing with presently from what we're dealing with. Right? Two different mindsets, but same figure. 1 Corinthians 6:19. Or do you not know that your body is a temple of the Kadosh Ruach within you, whom you have of all Yahuwah? You are not your own, for you were bought with a price. So glorify or kabod Yahuwah in your body, your tent, your house, your palace, your bayit. It says Acts 17:29, being then Yahuwah's offspring, we ought not to think that the divine being is like gold or silver or stone, an image formed by art and the imagination of man. Don't do that. Like it was in every imagination and thought was only evil continually. Don't do that. Archons, gold and silver, they created that. Control man as it was from the beginning. And stone. It says, at the time of your ignorance, Yahuwah overlooked. Hey, I overlooked all that. Tikfarat. I overlooked all that. But now he commands all people everywhere to repent. Tashu. That's as it was during the days of Noah. I am Adam. I'm sorry that I ever made them. He cast judgment on them by their word, but Noah found favor. This is Bithkaf, or 2 Peter 3:8. But do not overlook this one fact, beloved, that with the Master 1 day is as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as 1 day. Yahuwah is not slow to fulfill his promise, as some count slowness, but is patient toward you, not wishing that any should perish, but all should reach repentance. All people. This is Yukonon 3:5. Yahushua answered, truly, truly, I say to you, unless one is born of water and of Ruach, he cannot enter the kingdom of all, Yahuwah. That which is born of flesh is flesh, and that which is born of Ruach is Ruach. Do not marvel that I said to you, you must be born again. The wind blows where it wishes, and you hear its sound, but you do not know where it comes from or where it goes. So it is everyone who is born of the Ruach. Are you born of the Ruach? This is Odes of Solomon, ODE 6. It says, as the wind moves through the harp and the strings speak, so the Ruach of Yahuwah speaks through my members, and I speak through his love. So you start thinking about love and how he said wisdom is sought with love and discipline. You seek wisdom with love, and that's how you find it. It says, for he destroys whatever is foreign, and everything is of Yahuwah. Every imagination and thought was only evil continually. He said, I'm going to destroy man that I made. If I am grieved, I am in my mind and my heart by my word that I have even made them. And that's why he destroyed man. That's why he destroyed the descendants of Adam and Jaza and all the, and that even the ascended beings who invaded the earth, Jaza, Azazel, and all the other beings who came here. They were on the earth, which means they weren't from earth. They were from another world, people. They were from another place. They weren't from this earth. They wasn't even from here. This place was invaded. This is not the way we're supposed to live. I know people say, we're supposed to live. No, we're not supposed to live this way. We're supposed to live in harmony with all creatures and all things. We're supposed to be tilling the ground and being at shalom with everybody and all things and all creatures. This ain't how we're supposed to be living. This place was invaded. And what you see today on the earth, it's a lot of things we ain't supposed to be doing. But here we go. This is verse 4. It says, for thus it has been from the beginning and will be unto the end. From the beginning, he's been destroying things that is not of him. It's foreign to him. He's like, I can't stand to look at it. Every imagination and purpose and plan and thought and memory is evil. Their courage, everything they do is just to do raw. He says, so that nothing will be contrary. That's why he got rid of all the people. He didn't want nothing contrary to what he made in the beginning. That's why he had to do away with Azazel. That's why he had to do with animal sacrifice. He had to do away with the priesthood that they had before. He had to do away with that. This stuff was contrary to what he actually said. He couldn't have it. He couldn't have these things anymore. He had to get rid of it. He had to establish a new and a better way. It had to be better than what it was before. It said that nothing be contrary and nothing will rise up against them. That's why he told Yahushua, sit down at my right hand so I'll make thy enemies thy footstool. Nothing rises against the word. When it does, then it becomes, when you try to, people say, you trying to lower the vibrational frequencies of Yahushua Mashiach and say you above him with your lower, with your your lower frequency, and you trying to put your frequency above his. Nah, that's not gonna work. His created the whole world and the universe, and all the gods and all the Malachim and all the things that people proclaim themselves to be worshiping. He made all of them, and for his pleasure they all were created. Yahuwah made those things. And these are the things that are contrary to him. So this is Odes of Solomon, ODE 2. It says, my heart was pruned and its flower appeared. Then grace, Khan, sprang up in it, and it poured and it produced fruits for Yahuwah. So you start looking at Kaphar. We start looking at Kaphar. We start looking at another chance, or they call Khan, or grace. You start looking at that, being covered. But understand what being humiliated, being humbled means. Being sorry for what one sees, for what one has done, for what one's household has done, family, and what the whole world is doing. It's not just about one person. It's not about just an individual thing. It's about everyone. Because all people everywhere needs to come to repentance. It ain't just about one person. Right? So it says, for the Most High Yahuwah can circumcise me by his Kadush Ruach. Then he uncovered my inward being toward him and filled me with his love, his ahab, his ahaba. He filled me with his love, right? So when he starts, people said, despise not the chastening of Yahuwah. Despise not when one is, he said, whom he loves, he chastens, he prunes, he corrects, he circumcises. He's chipping out the heart, the mind. It says, and his circumcision became my salvation. The removing of eating certain things, the removing of thinking a certain way, the removing of memories, the removing of evil plans and evil plots and evil purposes and evil things, the removing of not wanting to do things in unity, the removing of these things, like all these things are being removed, and it's become your salvation. And I ran in the way of his peace. Because if every imagination and thought is only evil continually, think about it, Bereshith. Think about it. Think about it. Think about it. He says, and I ran in the way of his peace. Think about it, Tamedia. Think about it. Think about that. From the beginning until the end, I received his knowledge. Think about from the beginning. From the beginning of creation until the end. From the beginning until the end, I received his knowledge. People say all that received him gave you power to become the sons of light, of Or. Light, Or. They say we are judges, right? People say we are goddesses and goddesses, judges who receive the light. And already received you, gave you power to become the children and the judges of light, which means you can speak light, which means you can judge properly, not only yourself, you won't have no injustice in one's mind, but you'll be able to judge other things properly so you can actually see. And then you'll get to the point where you'll start Kapharing. Why? Because you now see the state. And you'll be like, just like Yahushua was in Tahalim 38. He said, when you were sick, I put on sackcloth and with fasting. I afflicted my soul. So this is the OD of Solomon 7 through 28. Well, actually, OD Shaluma 11 through 28. It says, and he who created me when yet I was not known, when I was not knew what I should do when I came into being. Wherefore he pitied me in his abundant grace, and granted me to ask from him to receive from his sacrifice. Because he it is that is incorrupt, the fullness of the ages, and the Father of them. He hath given him, it says, he hath given him to be seen of them that are his, in order that they may recognize him that made them, and that they might not suppose that they came of themselves. For knowledge he hath appointed as its way. He hath widened it and extended it and brought to all perfection, and set over it the traces of his light. And I walked therein from the beginning even unto the end. For by him it was wrought, and he was resting in the sun. And for its salvation he will take hold of everything. It says, and the Most High Yahuwah shall be known in his saints, to announce to those that have songs of the coming of Yahuwah, that they may go forth to meet him, and may sing to him with joy, and with the harp in many tones. The seers shall come before him, and they shall be seen before him. And they shall praise Yahuwah for his love, because he is near and beholdeth. And hatred shall be taken from the earth, and along with jealousy it shall be drowned. For ignorance have been destroyed, because the knowledge of Yahuwah has arrived. They say ignorance is bliss. No. Knowledge has arrived. So they who make songs shall sing of the grace of the kind of Yahuwah Most High, and they shall bring their songs, and their hearts shall be like the day, and like the excellent beauty of Yahuwah, their pleasant song. And there shall neither be anything that breathes without knowledge, nor anything that is dumb. Everything, he said, all gonna be filled with, a whole earth gonna be filled with the knowledge of Yahuwah, as the waters cover the sea. He said, ain't gonna be nothing that breathes ain't got no knowledge. It says, for he hath given a mouth to his creation. Kaphar. To open the voice of the mouth toward him, to praise him. And guess what it says? Confess ye his power and show forth his calm or grace. Hallelujah. People say, show forth his second chance. Because that's what this is. People say, what is Kaphar? People say, Kaphar, Yahusha did it once and for all. It ain't going to be no remembrance of sins. Why? No more. Why? Because there is no more. For all have knowledge. The knowledge is here. Yahuwah has arrived. His knowledge of Yahuwah has arrived. There's no, the Yad Ha'u'ah is here. He is here. His knowledge has arrived. It is here. The infinite one of the highest Shamayim is here. The one who sits in the highest Shamayim, who governs the 10th Shamayim, all the way through the 7 Shamayims in the Rukiah, even to the center of the earth. He's arrived. It's all throughout the earth. Let there be light. Let there be or. Children of light. Let there be light. Children of light. No man light the candle and put it under the table. He put it on top of the table, that all may see. The knowledge of Yahuwah is here. So like he said, man, those who are feeble, he said, man, make straight way for your feet. He said, let the weak say I'm strong. Let the weak say I'm a warrior. He said, lift up your hands, just like Davarim. He said, I wound, I kill, I make alive. I heal. People, you can heal. You can heal. And then you can lift up your hands and say, I live forever. I live. And you can do that every single day. Morning, evening, you can do it continually without ceasing. He said, he that has a merry heart has a continual feast. It's continual. Like we say, let love live. Let love move. Let the Ruach move you. Let truth guide you. Because these are the aspects of life that one forgets. That life, eternal life, the majesty of the one who made all things, reigns. And it still reigns. And it has arrived. So as even as this day comes to a close, even Kaphar, we think about the sacrifice that Yahushua HaMashiach has made. We think about his word, we think about his wisdom, we think about his kukma, we think about his understanding. We think about overflowing. We think about overflowing within that we may water ourselves, water the plants, give water to the animals, then also give water to the people we come in contact with. So when somebody says, I thirst, like Yahushua did on the stake, one won't give nobody sour wine, because our evil inclination and every imagination is evil continually. We'll be able to give love, compassion, gentleness, meekness, temperance. We'll be able to give forgiveness. Because when you forgive one person, it sows a seed for them to forgive somebody else. When you show love to somebody else, it shows a seed of love for them to show love to somebody else. Right? When you overlook an offense, it sows a seed in somebody else to overlook an offense, and so they can be beautiful as well. So it's not just about one individual; it's about one individual extending the same kindness and love and compassion that Yahushua extended to us. And by doing that, you infect the world. You infect every human being on the planet. You infect everyone. And everybody needs to be loved. Because we say, no matter how big of a smile somebody has on their face, no matter how rich one may have, billions of dollars, or whether they poor, everybody's going through and everybody's dealing with something. Nobody's out here not dealing with nothing. And everything is for a reason. Because you could be that one individual that can say something that can change their whole life around, that can give them a little bit more hope to move forward in this life. And that's the thing that he's given. So as you live your life, let love guide you, let love lead you, and let the truth of Mashiach reign in your hearts. He said, all that receive them gave you power to become the sons and daughters of light. The gods and the goddesses that receive the light, he gave you power to become the gods of light. That when you live in your body, your natural body, your childlike body, when you walk out into the world, now you're able to say and speak with your voice, with your mouth, as we just read, let there be light. Or higher. So we ask ourselves every single day, morning and evening, as we wait for Yahuwah's voice to speak, and we offer up our sacrifices on our altar, and that still small voice speaks, we wait in silence, and we wait to listen. For it is true. For his love is true. And his light is true. Continually to me, Yah. Continually, Yah. We continually seek your face. Let love live. Let love reign. Be true children of light. Children of Or. Children of the promise.